Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Fight Night Rising. We are on a new patch today, 10.22, and alongside me, casting with me, will be Boopasaurus. Boop, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing good. Just like I told you, I hope you got your floaties ready because we are about to go to the pool, the black pool, everyone, because it's the Morgana week, is what people are saying. So, we like to kind of start things off by telling you what we might see, but a lot of these players will most likely be competing for these talents, these enlightened units like Morgana. But Khroen, let's go over the people that we're gonna see today.
Oh, yeah, we got a great cast here tonight. We have a returning winner, of course, Seigs. Seigs played phenomenally last week and is going to be look for a repeat performance. Seigs even actually made a Twitter just for after last week winning. It's like, okay, maybe I'll get back to the social medias again. But we got Sphinx, we got JinxedJK, Esportslaw, Hypnoticus, Numano, Kjaos, and Gunmay. Pog, Gunmay's back after a little bit of a hiatus.
Doing that little bit of that gamer retirement action right now. In gaming, retiring only means at least 2 months.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about it again. And it seems like we are back. It's good to see Gunmay come back. And remember, it's very important to talk about Gunmay in this way. The record holder for amount of weeks in a row. To put that in perspective, Sphinx is on week 5 right now, and he's not
Yeah.
even halfway to Gunmay's record, which is 12, I believe.
12 weeks. That's actually insane. We talk about a lot the fact that there's, insane stacked lobbies and fight nights, but Gunmay being able to come back top threeing for 12 weeks in a row is really insane. A testament to how good of a player that he is when he puts his mind to it and has a strong mental. We've talked about before the kind of the mental pursuit that Gunmay was on after I believe it was like Giant Slayer series season 2, like first week of the qualifiers. He's like, I really am like, I'm beating myself up, but I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna be mentally strong. I'm just gonna practice. I'm gonna grind, no more excuses. And he like won the tournament, and that has been actually insane. But then eventually retired. So hopefully, I'll be able to see that return of Gunmay proper, the 12 week in a row Gunmay.
Oh man, I mean, he made a lot of those 12 weeks off the back of some Darius back in set
Yeah.
2, 3 at that point. No,
Uh,
set 2 because Timo destroyed Darius in the third set. So a lot of really exciting comps. Gunmay was a Battlecast player for a period of time, and so when it comes to those exciting comps, Gunmay's definitely one to look out for.
Definitely one to look out for. And all these players gonna be looking out to for that prize pool. Gonna try to earn some of that. We got $200 at stake. 100 for first place. Second will be $50, and third and fourth will be $25. Of course, the top three will be invited back for next week. Sphinx looking to make it a six-time reappearance.
And that's amazing stuff coming in from Sphinx. We've been really lucky to cast, I think, almost every single one of these players before. So, knowing Sphinx's history, it goes way back to the beginning of TFT, and consistency was always his issue. And to come back for 5 weeks in a row, going after 6, it means that we are well on our way to figuring out exactly how to be consistent player. And I think he's kind of just like fine tuning at this point, really kind of seeing what professional TFT player Sphinx can do. One of the best long game players in this lobby in the game, in my opinion. So always a threat when Sphinx is in at the lobby, but a lot of threats so far here today.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's a lot of threats. Even a player like Esportslaw, I think, interestingly enough, like they came in one of their first weeks, they're like, okay, they didn't play too well. Like they're a lawyer, they have a full-time job, right? But then, they've improved a lot over the course of these past months and and between sets. And so I think I think Esportslaw tweeted out earlier today that like, yeah, I don't really feel like the underdog anymore. I feel like I can actually come in and win this whole thing potentially. So
Hell yeah.
hopefully that's going to be the case. It is a new patch. Talked about it earlier. We're gonna see probably 4 people at least per game trying to go for Morgana, go for those talons. Morgana having that accidental buff ship, which will not be hotfix. So gotta play at least a full week on that one. Be curious to see if anyone has found a counter to it. Not sure though, but we're definitely gonna see a lot of it.
And the thing about TFT is sometimes when you're kind of experimenting for counters, I think a really good place to start is actually mirroring the comp,
Yeah.
right? And finding out exactly what's strong about it so you can identify what's weak about it as well. So I think that really held true in the Divine meta a couple weeks ago, where the best counter Divine was Divine.
Yes.
And so it's moderately similar here because of Talon. So we'll see if we're going to see the absolute kind of like the war week situation here with some of our enlightens. I don't think so, but it's definitely going to be something that we see. There's also going to be some other potential comps that have snuck in. We were talking about earlier last week. Ninjas didn't really show up at all. We might
Yeah.
potentially
A
see
little bit on that.
a couple of that if like it seems to go your way, right? If you're
Yep.
presented with the ninjas early, hunters could maybe find an appearance. Sharpshooter's still good, and I think one of the bigger changes that people probably saw in that patch was to Dazzler, with Dazzler 4 becoming much stronger.
Yeah, speaking of Dazzler, we got Lissandra, not a Dazzler chosen, of course, but a Moonlight chosen Lissandra in Siegs' shop here. I think it would be a take, but see what Siegs is going to do here. Yes, does take that. As soon as Siegs is able to find another Moonlight, be it Aphelios, Diana, or Silas, will be able to upgrade that into a tier 2 unit. A very, very strong start in the game. Of course, there's some discourse among players of, oh, do the first, like couple of stages, few stages of the game really matter? There was a good article written by Aegon, which goes, into depth about a lot of what he thought really, really mattered in terms of skill expression in TFT. Other players think that there is more skill expression, but I mean, either way, win streaking, getting your gold, setting yourself up for what's going to look like a top four, something that Siegs wants to do here. Finds another one of those moonlights in a Diana here.
And just for a lot of people who, a lot of these players just kind of know exactly like how much money you're going to have at this stage if you lose this amount of games, right? So if you really want to become one of the great players, if you want to compete for, the any upcoming qualifiers that are going to be happening right here, by the way, with Riot Games, if you want to compete on those, one of the best things you can do is kind of get an understanding of how much money you usually have at certain checkpoints in the game. Carousels are a great time to check in. NPC rounds are a great time to check in. For example, if you lose every round up until the first NPC round here, which is Krugs, you're going to have around 65 to 75 gold to work with. Now that you have the last stop on your train, right? How do we get there? What's the best possibility? Some players really love playing like that. Other players, I think, have a harder time. For example, I think Sphinx is one of those players who does think like that, but someone who's not here, DQA is such a fast starter. I feel like,
Yeah.
especially at the beginning, it's more round to round. And that's where we get a lot of separation from play styles. But it's so important to understand your checkpoints as a TFT player so you know when you're not hitting them or when you're ahead of them so you can
Yeah.
push leads or hold back a little bit and save some HP. So yeah, definitely check in and we'll try to provide those throughout the cast today as well.
Oh no, definitely. Great, great point there. Interesting to me seeing Siegs and Sphinx actually have exactly the same items. Sphinx had the glove on the chosen Yasuo there, and Siegs has everything on the bench here, but has what the makings of a Morello's. Morello's is going to be a prioritized item more than we've seen in the past, just because of the prevalence of Morgana. And Siegs is going to yeah, okay. So let's talk about it. Good work, Sig. As soon as I talk about it, he's going to commit to slumming that. Morello's already had won the previous round, so it's probably just going to go for a full win streak at this point. I don't really think there's a world where Siegs is going to be rolling down for Lissandra 3. I do see it a little bit. Some people like experimenting with it, like solo queue and stuff, but it doesn't seem to have a very strong cap, though, at the end of the day. It's just probably in the scenario going to be used as an item holder going forward into the rest of the game.
And with the Dazzler buff, it didn't. I don't believe it affected the just the two splash that some people were putting
Yeah,
in.
sure.
If they had it, for example, if you're running Elderwood, you can maybe do a Dazzler splash. Divine is another one that you can maybe fit a second Dazzler in. But fitting four in, I experimented with. It's tough, man. It
It is.
definitely is good. Like when you have all of the components. But the unfortunate thing is none of the Dazzlers can really carry on their own. which is, I think, one of the biggest things. So, what is going to be around them? How are you going to make them stronger? I don't think they're going to ever be the lead on the comp. You know how you say like duelist and then something else, right? It's never going to be like a Dazzler comp, at least in this current landscape. I could be wrong, especially with these changes, but it takes so much effort to hit Dazzler 4, and there are better comps that take less effort than that. I think to drive that
Yeah.
might be in a competitive setting a much safer choice to run.
I think that the only really realistic scenario you're going to run for Dazzler is actually kind of realistic. But it's if you're going to find a Dazzler chosen Lux or Morgana, and then you can run the other plus an Ezreal once you get to like level 8
Mhm.
or 9. You can fit it at 8 if you are running that Morgana composition because you can skip out on things like Adept, or I mean, you're probably just going to run Mystic anyway. But yeah, you can skip out on things like Adept. Maybe the Ezreal is like in place of a Yone, and the Morgana is just like the chosen there in that scenario. And it's 80% attack damage reduction with 4 Dazzler. Like that is such a large amount. If you're facing anything that has to do with attack damage, like Ashe, other Talons, things like that, I mean, they basically are just a non-factor at that point.
And so it's actually a really good way to maybe even think about running it with like a little bit of a mage package, right? Because one of the things about some comps is they didn't have tanks, right? That was one of the biggest weaknesses. And so sometimes at the end of the game with 4 Dazzler minus 80%,
Yeah.
you'll be able to burst them down before they can get to you. I remember in my experimentation, I did end up going up against an Ashe, and I felt like I healed through it almost, as
Yep.
80% less damage is quite a lot. But eventually it will end, and you'll get your damage back as we're going over to Sphinx, who's sitting in last place. And in this particular meta, that's not a bad thing,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen. He's getting his money. And when you're already at this point, 3 loss streak, 20 gold, you're kind of wanting to lose a little bit here, especially, or maybe at not since we're after carousel, but this is an okay place to be.
Yeah, it's okay to be at 84 HP isn't the worst on a 3 loss streak. Sphinx actually choosing to slam a Hand of Justice there, so not going to be going for best in slot Talon or Morgana items. Of course, there is Umbrella potential on the bench there, but is maybe just going to be committing for a duelist reroll composition. I haven't quite seen exactly how it's able to stack up against these other compositions. I guess I'll just say like Morgana, but I don't think it would have a great matchup because one of the strengths of the duelist composition is when you get like Jax tier 3 eventually. And while Jax can dodge Talon if he's mid Counter Strike, Jax cannot really defend well against a Morgana pool, and that's the unit that people are going to be prioritizing nowadays. So I think
Mhm.
actually I'm worried for Sphinx if he does keep this route up. Could still transition into something else. Hand of Justice is an item that you can run on Talon. And looking at Kjaos here, that is already a Talon and a Morgana pre-Krugs.
At
That
two
is
six
actually, yes, on 2-6. That
and
is
10 gold
such
still.
an insane roll. Like, yeah, the question mark pig there is exactly what everyone in this lobby is thinking right now. That
Um,
is such a good roll there for a comp that is dominating in this meta.
Sometimes you hit, sometimes you don't. And right
Yeah.
now, Chaos got that hit in, but Sphinx actually having a moderately good loss here, especially against that particular comp. It's good that he just did get pummeled, because when you're lose streaking here, it's it's more of, I don't wanna lose by a lot rather than I don't wanna lose, right? So, if you lose every single unit, up until Krugs, if you don't take out any unit, you should be at 56 HP, I believe, if people are kind of sitting at normal leveling.
Mhm.
So, that's kind of like where you're gonna be, at, like, 7, 8 losses in a row, for example. So, Sphinx is gonna try to lose by 1 or 2 units instead, and that's why he's at 72, and why I would be at 59 right now because he's better than me.
Yeah.
Um,
I had a game earlier today where I was on Krugs 5 losses, was at 87 HP. It was, like,
whew,
pretty
that's
high roll, like, if
perfect.
you're able to be
Yeah.
above 80 at that point, like, that's really, really good. Sphinx being at 72, of course, is still not bad. Sometimes if you have a composition like this, you can find yourself in the high 60s, something of the sort. But,
Mhm.
going back to Sphinx in this duelist composition here, Sphinx actually, yeah, okay, he's rolling right now. I thought because he didn't sell the Yasuo to go up to 40 econ a couple turns ago. I thought he was going to commit to this composition, and it looks like he is. and he's rolling aggressively here, but not finding almost any Yasuos. Eventually finds one right there. There is a Callista in the shop here, but this is not looking good, I think, if you're Sphinx.
So here's a theory. Sphinx loves Talon, just like in general.
Yeah,
Was running Talon when he was bad, like 3 weeks ago. And so he loves this Janna opening, uses it a lot. And while these duelists can be pretty strong early and do currently have, in terms of chosen win rates, the highest win rate amongst all chosens is duelists. I mean, win rate being top 4%. Um, it could definitely work, especially here at the early game. But Sphinx is in a position where he's reset his economy now. He won that round, and so now he's making less money. Didn't get to the 40 gold, and because he won there, we're actually slowing down at that econ a little bit. But
yeah.
we might be looking for more so the enlightened package than the duelist package for the late game. But we have duelists right now, so Sphinx might have started wanting to run maybe a talent or something, and now has adjusted based on what the game has given him, is kind of what it looks like.
Yeah, perhaps. Maybe said like I'm gonna roll down here. Let's hit some upgrades. Either I hit a lot of Yasuo's and I go Yasuo 3, or I don't. I just find my other units and then I go into a town later on in the game. It very well could be adjusting to how those rolls went. I just think it's so risky because you do set yourself behind a lot of econ with all of those rolls, and you already choosing deliberately to not make econ the turn before by keeping a Yasuo here. Um, it's going to be a decision that Sphinx has to live or die by at this point. But winning this round as well versus Esportslaw, 72 HP, has seemingly stabilized. Gonna see if he chooses to keep this route, or he does indeed decide to pivot. Numano is still at 100 HP right now.
Classic.
Numano seems to be up there a lot. I'm actually curious to check out Numano's board pretty soon. But
Okay,
first,
so
we'll be going over to Gunmay, and Gunmay is running 6 Warlords.
classic. Also, this tracks. So six warlords is not something that we've seen a ton of in general when it comes to fight night. I believe this might be the first six warlord we have ever seen in this patch. From the
Maybe.
very beginning of this set, we've only really seen the three, then transitioning out a little bit later. But Gunmay, with those, with that courage. Is so good about going after these comps because they're probably going to be uncontested. So Gunmay's always going to be someone who's going to be tier 3ing a lot of units, likes to play aggressively, will find himself at the bottom of the leaderboard pretty frequently, and then will just kind of be really sticky and stick there as he gets his team stronger and stronger as his items are stronger because he's picking first. This version of Gunmay, though, is going to lose this round, hit 30 HP, but is going to be picking second to last. So this is actually really interesting to me, especially since Gunmay's coming out of retirement. This is his first competitive experience since coming out of the retirement, and he kind of retired at his peak. So I
Yep.
wonder what the adjustment is going to be here in terms of decision making. And right now, we're already getting classic Gunmay by seeing something different with those warlords.
Definitely. We may have seen in the past we run 6 Warlords, like, in stage 3, then pivot out of them when it gets to be stage 4. Sometimes, yeah, we do miss, things like that just because 'cause I'm not watching all the players' perspectives at once, but it looks more committal on Gunmay's, perspective here because you're already slamming a Gunblade on a Katarina. Now that item, like, could go into something else later on, like a gonna use Morgana as probably the go-to example tonight a lot. Gunblade could go on Morgana still, and it's okay. Gives her a little bit more spell vamp because she already has some inherently a little bit of spell vamp. But there
Hmm.
there is a scenario where if you get some Warlord spats in the future, whether it be from spatulas you find naturally or from complete item carousels in the future, if you get to 9 Warlords, that can still, I don't know if it wins you a game because I haven't seen it on this specific patch, but it can get you at least a top 4.
The inherent strength of warlords is how they get stronger as they win.
Yeah,
I think one of the coolest fantasies in this set, and it's just I like seeing them grow in strength. But once they get capped, you no longer can grow. That's when you really have to start making decisions on which part of this composition is worth running,
yeah,
right? Because later on, like you said, they are going to fall off unless you have the 9, because those stats are so big that it's going to compensate for that middling 6 warlord stat increase after 5 wins. And if you don't run warlords ever and you want to kind of learn how to do it, it's easy to get that first 3 going on the board, especially with Nidalee being a 1 cost unit. But That's a really great early game setup. Usually you transition a little bit out of that, maybe to a sharpshooter comp with the Nidalee being your kind of pivot point. But we'll see how this goes when it comes to Gunmay. And the
Yeah.
little indicators underneath their feet is how many games, rounds that they have won. So you see that Katarina has won one and Garen has won five. So they're all going to be at different kind of sections in their stat bonuses right now
Yeah.
for Gunmay's board.
Oh, Kjaos already having a Morgana 2 at this point and a Nico on the bench. That is a Shiv on the Talon, which isn't amazing. Actually could be a Talon 2 right now because there is that
It's
Nico's, but
crazy.
not gonna use that at this point. Sigs though, bottom of the lobby, still is running that Lysandra carry, I suppose we'll say, but I don't know if it's doing a great job at carrying right now. Even Gunmay, who's lost the last 2 rounds, looking like this round is going to be a win because the Katarina had a really good angle there, and Lysandra just didn't really touch her. Previous couple rounds, Katarina would just die to like some random damage eventually because she would be able to get ult off fast enough. But Siegs dropping below 50 on Wolves on 43. That's kind of low right now, a little bit worrying. Numano, though, on the other side, still at 100 HP. And from watching a fight a couple rounds ago, Numano did have 2 Nikos on the bench as well as some really, really great Morgana items. And yeah, okay, it's gonna be level 7 already for Numano here. 2 Nikos on the bench, as well as a Chalice and a Morello's. If this roll down, oh man, if this roll down hits, like it's so strong.
So Numano, man, I love you. You're an awesome
And the luck.
guy. When you came on to do that interview, you were so cool. But I also hate you because of this. Look at this. 63 gold, 10 game win streak, everything going right. And the reason why, I say it like that is because it seems to happen almost every single game for him. One of the
Yeah.
most consistent early game starters
Hmm.
that we have had. And we're going to go ahead and roll down and see where we do get that hit. We have a chosen sharpshooter with that Teemo. And at level 7, it is that you're looking for that 4 cost chosen, right? So that's where that extra power is going to be, and where a lot of the debate is in terms of changes that could be possible for this set is the access to those 4 cost chosens. And so now that we're at level 7, this is where a lot of the game begins for people. So you're either going to save and go to level 8, or you're going to roll and just hope and have your fingers crossed that you hit your units like the Talons, like the Morganas. But I'm in love with this double chalice Kindred, because remember, Kindred also has one of the highest base spell powers in the
Oh
game.
yeah. The Kindred right there nearly one shot the Riven on the other side there from Hypnoticus. The top 2 players in the lobby going against each other. Hypnoticus took the loss, but it's still in second right now. The interesting thing about Numano's board here is he actually could just go for Kindred 3. Just needs to roll rolls a chosen Kindred or just 2 more naturally. It's gonna right now decide to play a couple of Vanguards, but does have the Talon on the bench. No real Talon items, though. It has to be either a Kindred 3 or a Morgana, but there's already a lot of Morganas out of the pool. Like, we see Morgana 2 from Kjaos there. There was at least 2 other people with Morgana as well. I mean, we said this was going to be the Morgana week, and of course it
Hmm.
is right now.
Remember, get your floaties, friends. And
Yeah.
Numana didn't bring his floaties to the party. As Kjaos is going to take him down. Jeweled Gauntlet with Morello's is a big, big power spike. The good news for
Yeah.
Numano, though, is I was just about to say too before we saw that Morgana do more things there, was he still has room to grow, right? We've
Yep.
actually seen people in this lead position kind of max out their power mega early, win a couple more rounds, and then lose 7 rounds in a row, right? Numano, however, can definitely find more power within this comp. What you see in terms of synergies is not what he's going to be ending
Hmm.
with, as we're going to go with a chosen divine lux. So we might be putting in a little bit of Dazzler in here to help things out, to keep that Kindred a little bit safer. Because Kindred does have the ability to feed if they do tumble forward. So this divine option, though, is very interesting to me. The true damage is definitely going to be helpful, but where does this go from here? As we were talking about how he hasn't maxed out, this, I think, has made things a little different.
I think what Numano is aiming to do here, and I could be wrong, but I think what Numano is choosing to do here is just play the Divine Chosen Lux for the rest of stage 4. Say, okay, I didn't find my Morgana, I didn't find any more Talons. So I'm going to just econ, get to level 8, and then roll down at that point and see what I hit. But Numano on the other side did sell the Talon that was on the bench, and if you're gonna go Morgana Talon comp, you probably don't wanna make that sell, you'd probably sell a Yuumi instead. So maybe this actually is just a committal to the Kindred 3. If Numano was able to get a tier here, because double Chalice Blue of Kindred sounds really freaking good. Um, we'll see
It
though.
sure does, man. Because Kindred doesn't need the extra power, right? Remember, the base numbers for Kindred are so high that
Yeah.
one item for AP is usually enough, and that's why Chalice I like on Kindred as an idea so much. The other thing I kind of want to bring your attention
Okay.
to is our lobby scores right now. Our top four have really been pummeling the bottom 4
Oh
of the
yeah.
lobby is usually what that means is our top 4 teams right now are that much stronger than our bottom 4 with Gunmay on those Warlords, I think, and exactly where we would expect that comp to be right in the middle of the leaderboard. Remember, it's more of a top 4 comp, but Sphinx is on the bottom as expected, as you said, Khroen, at 29, tied with Esportslaw, Mr. Bryce there. I know what Bryce looks like. I like to imagine him as Phoenix, right? Just based off of the name.
Yeah, of
And
course, of course.
so if that helps any of y'all at home, I'm sure it does.
Uh,
But yeah, let's talk about blue buff a little bit, or Morello's, because we're seeing it on Teemo, we're seeing it on Morgana. So Teemo's probably just holding on to it for now. But in terms of maximizing the value of this item, it's probably one of the items of the patch. What makes this so much stronger than, say, Sunfire Cape? Of course, it's the AoE ability for the Morg to apply it to everybody, but is Morellis just that much stronger in terms of that grievous wounds? And is Morgana like the person to build it on?
yeah, I mean, it's only really I think super popular right now because of Morgana being able to pull an entire team, and the targeting I believe was adjusted on Morgana as well, so it's like slightly less random and it'll be more consistently um it'll more consistently hit like a larger clump of units. So if you're able to have that burn over time, which not only does damage but also decreases any sort of healing, it kind of it works out perfectly. It's a similar thing to Sejuani. If you had the components of Umbrellas when everyone is just running Sejuani plus like sharpshooters or Ari in the last patch, you would just slap it on her because it applies to just everybody around her, and it's going to be fairly consistent in doing that. So that's pretty much just why we see that there. Esportslaw, taking a look at here, it has a Elderwood Spat on a Kindred, and Sphinx actually had Elderwood Spat as well in that last round that we looked at. Hypnoticus is going to be taking the L here. The Last Whisper, i.e. Ash, is dealing a ton of damage there. The GA was good to be able to resurrect. Otherwise, the fight
Hmm.
would have gone the other way there. But, I mean, we're seeing some Elderwoods and some Hunters, but they're towards the bottom of the lobby here in this game. I mean, maybe that's very telling.
It could be Crowan. The timbre of your voice tells me that you might have expected that. However, 9 Elderwood, if you want to reach for that comp, will always be competitive. It's a lot of really good stats, but again, you have to get a chosen and a spat in order for that to work out. And I'm also really intrigued by this IE Last Whisper Ash. Last set, whenever there was any auto attacking champion, that was the item that you put on it. You put Last Whisper IE on literally everybody who auto attacked.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's been more giant slayery. There's definitely been a lot more variety, but I haven't necessarily seen the IE Last Whisper combo in Ash all that much. Is this kind of something that maybe was best item possible for Ash for what he had? Because he could have maybe put a giant slayer. He had the components.
Yeah, potentially had the components. I'm actually leaning towards the fact that I like this. There is a lot of people running, um, I guess, well, some people running Vanguards nowadays or Elderwoods even, and Elderwoods do stack up armor, and so Last Whisper plus the IE is able to get through those fairly quickly. Like, there is a couple of Vanguards in the front of Numano's composition here. Ash tears
Mm.
through those, and then with Hunter procs, because Esportslaw is running 4 Hunters, every attack is just going to be that much more valuable because all those attacks are going to be, critting and reducing armor and things of the like.
We have our first elimination, by the way, as our returning
Yeah,
champ is actually going out in 8th
Sigs.
place. But last week, we had one of like the craziest lobbies where almost it felt like almost everybody had an 8th place at some point
Yeah.
during the day, either like an 8th or 7th place. So it is not over for Sigs. I do believe he got either 7th or 8th in a lobby last week and ended up winning anyway. It's still pretty crazy to see Aries get passed over as frequently as they are
Yeah.
right now. Big nerf, especially on that tier 2 Aries. So not a lot of jeweled gauntlet Aries. It's a good kind of like, oh man, I'm not getting anything. I know this can work kind of comp. Maybe sneak into the top 4, but it's going to be much harder to win with that. As we do get a 4-cost chosen here on that Warwick, it's going to be Divine. But I'm liking this 4 Hunter 4 Brawler comp so far.
Ooh, not placing the Zephyr in time, so is not able to get the effectiveness of that there. But yeah, the composition I think is solid if you had an Ashe too, but the lack of Ashe here is concerning. Looking like still going to be a win, however, though. This 4 Hunter with his Ashe items, they are doing work. Gunmay, I think, is not quite as strong as he could or should be. Is running Warlords at this point in the game, which they do fall off, especially if you're not hitting Katarina 3. So fortunately for Esportslaw runs into that matchup right now, because I think there's a lot of matchups though towards the top of the lobby that he would lose to. Kjaos, I think, being one of them.
Mhm.
Kjaos had the very early Morgana and Talon, and is still going to be sticking with those, scouting around, and is probably feeling pretty good about the game state right now. 72 HP and on a win streak. A very sizable gap between that HP and the rest of the lobby.
He has not lost since hitting on that Talon and putting the Jewel Gauntlet Morellos on that
Oh,
Morgana. Also, that's a beefy Morgana too with that D-Claw. So we're going to go to PT Barnum and Bailey's Talon Circus right now. He's going to be jumping around and then dying. So looking more like my kind of Talon in
that's
that
the GA though.
situation. So yeah, it has the GA. So this is the rule of TFT. Your Talon feeds, their Talon is feeding on you. You know how every game has that, right? On Summoner's Rift, your Yi sucks, their Yi's a master.
Yep.
Um, TFT is that's just kind of what it feels like because Talon can jump right into Essential. Talon can jump right into like a Jinx and get stunned in forever. But at least you've got that Morgana, and I feel like that's where a lot of these set 4 comps really start to find that power. We got a lot of single kind of like damage oriented carries like Master Yi in the last set. This set, however, it's kind of like you've got your main carry and a secondary carry. And it's Morgana and Talon. Before it used to be Ari and some other type of DPS, maybe it's Zed, to kind of supplement the damage if your frontline carry does fall really early.
Yep.
So I think that's why this Morgana Talon is just so good, is they both can be carries on their own, but since they're also both enlightened and they can both be on the same team, you're just getting even more value. It's kind of like a win more situation, which is why I think Talon might be the best counter against Talon and Morgana.
Yeah, no, definitely there. That carousel was really sad for Chaos. There is a Dusk Spat, a Warlord Spat, and a Morello's, and you don't need Warlord Spat, you don't need Dusk Spat, and you also don't need Morello's because you already have one on the Morgana, but that is going to be the only real thing of value there. Chaos is leveling towards level 9 right now, interestingly enough, thinks that they are strong enough, which I would probably agree with. I think that Chaos is strong enough to go 9 at this point. Wants to find probably a Yone to go for Adept, as well as maybe actually what do you needs Lux 2 actually. The Lux 2 power spike I think is pretty significant. Going up against Gunmay with that Katarina, but it just gets one shot by Talon. Talon just jumping around. Gunmay, I think he's
Oh
gonna fall here.
man.
Oh, we'll see. It's gonna be close.
I
Disease
don't
Rot
think
needs
that'd
to
be
kill some units. Disease
Oh,
Rot,
might be able to
go!
pull one, does get the Lux
Oh,
down. Oh no, but he's gonna fall anyway. That
needed one
comp
more.
was that comp was always going to fall off. The game lasting actually
Yeah.
not that long for 2 eliminations at this point. So Gunmay with the fast start, like you get with Warlords, but with Warlords, I still think you've got to transition out of it
Yeah.
by like 3-5 or 4-1, or at least have the plan to. Because if you've already settled on just going Warlords, you've probably already lost.
Mhm.
As we're going over to Kjaos again with 3 Adept, 4
Yep.
Enlightened. Do we see the 2 Adept a lot? 4 Adept maybe now, as I think he put that. Oh, okay, third one
Hypnotic is
back
at
in.
4 Adept.
Okay, Hypnotic is on 4
Yeah,
Adept.
actually, speaking of Hypnoticus, yeah, probably after this round or some point, but before stage 6 gets underway, I just want to take a look at Hypnoticus because there's kind of the 2 ways that you can run this in line composition. Hypnoticus is running the other way that's not really as focused on Talon, though. But the focus on Talon from Chaos here is pretty good because you have the items for it. like, having the items for both carries here is really insane. The
Mhm.
spike is, like, nuts. There's Morgana to deal a lot of damage, and then Talon he just jumps around and cleans everything up. Actually, the synergy between those 2 units is so, so good. Part of the reason why that comp is so strong right now because it's not even just the Morgana, it is also the Talon, who kind
Mhm.
of inadvertently got buffed as well, because of all the buffs to, Morgana and to just, like, comp in general, and things like Ahri being nerfed means that, like, Vanguards are gonna be less in the meta right now.
And the other kind of interesting thing about Morgana is I think you could actually take some similarities on how her ult works to Katarina's. It's big AOE, but with Katarina, it's so much more risky, right?
Yeah,
It is one. The cost is cheaper because of that. But with Morg, it is you're gonna be doing a lot of damage, and the starting mana is high enough to where you can pretty much guarantee and ult. And looking at the size of that black
and
pool,
Nico
for
too.
example, it's absolutely
Yeah.
insane. And with the Nikos, with 2 Lee Sins on the bench, with the ability to go to 963 gold, Kjaos showing exactly why this is the comp that y'all should maybe try running on a ladder, especially with these items too, because this is almost perfect.
Oh, definitely. Even going to level 9 right now, I thought Chaos was gonna greed it out and wait one more turn. But even could Nico the Lee Sin right now if he wanted to. Not looking like that's going to be the play yet though, but has another Divine in, I suppose. Lee Sin actually has 2 Pikes in right now as well. So those are a couple of units that like Chaos still has so much room for this comp to be capped. It's kind of insane. It's already so, so good right now.
They've got to deal with that talent. So, did he get kicked? And where'd he go?
Ooh,
Where did he jump
okay.
to?
Yeah,
I guess he
got
jumped
kicked and
off. Yeah, I think Lee Sin
died.
got him, and so this is actually a really good position for Lee Sin to be in against the Morgana. Actually,
Ooh,
takes the Morgana out, and one Lee Sin to rule them all, my friends. Kicks out both carries. You're gonna have to adjust your positioning, my friend Chaos, just in case you see that Lee Sin again.
okay, that's not not the outcome I expected that fight to go. But that's very, very interesting because there is a way to deal with this. It has to be a Lee Sin too, however. Sphinx actually fell a couple rounds ago, and then Jinx fell that last round. Sphinx bottom 4 to start things off. Not great. Sphinx usually starts off pretty
Mhm.
well. Yeah, Jinx out as well. But Numano, actually, from that insane start, did make it to the top 4 with that Kindred 3. Kjaos versus Esportslaw here.
With
And
that
Esportslaw
last
having the
Whisper
Ashe. Has
IE.
Ashe too right now, and hits the chosen Ashe, so that's great.
So I
Actually,
like
it's a
this
good way.
IE Last Whisper. It is a lot more aggressive, but she's gonna take less auto attacks to be doing that damage, but this Talon doing a little bit too much. I mean, you've seen Ashes do crazier things, but that Talon jumping in, jumping out, breaking ankles, and is going to take down or it's going to take down Jinx. Esports Law is also going to fall. It's Hypnoticus, Numano, and Chaos with a huge lead round out the top 3.
Okay. Kjaos has now located the Yone, so 4 Adept right now, gonna be even stronger. Has an Azir in as well to put in over that secondary pike. Lee Sin, you don't really need in this composition. Already has 2 Divine, unless it was like a blue buff Lee Sin 2 or something. I don't think that's really necessary. Kjaos right now doesn't have to worry about too much besides repositioning. Has a lot of HP to still work with.
Mhm.
Hypnoticus has 4 Adept as well, but it's only a Talon 1 on this side.
Only a Talon 1. Look how slow everyone is attacking. We are underwater, friends, as you see the
Yeah,
pool come through. And once the Adept
there it is.
goes away, it's going to speed up. Here it goes. We have that Shen who is trying his best, but no, they're going to get bursted down. That Talon too strong, along with that Morgana. And usually during these days, we're like, all right, we've got this number 1 comp, and we're probably going to see it. And it usually means a lot of variety is going to come up. But we talked about the Morgana, and we're seeing the Morgana right here and right now. But we also saw the Morgana lose against this exact Lee Sin. So it needs to happen exactly like last time in order for Numano to rip off 5-6 wins in a row. And as you upgrade the Azir, doesn't even need to upgrade this Lee Sin
Yeah, I was
on
gonna say
the
there's not really
bench.
room for it. Like, the only thing it would have gone in for is that Azir if the Lee Sin was upgraded earlier, but didn't find that one. So, I mean, he's looking for some pikes right now, but you're level 9, finding pikes gonna be really hard. Probably
You only
not
have a
gonna
15%
yeah,
chance.
it's just gonna move some items around there, which I think is perfectly fine.
Mhm.
Maybe he didn't get the position that he wanted exactly. We'll see if this Lee Sin's able to pull a miracle off again.
Oh, the Chalice did not proc, so there is
Yeah.
no extra AP for that Azir and his friends, but will it matter? As we also have some Dazzler action going on. So not only are they attacking slower, they're doing less damage while they attack, but it looks like Numano seems to be able to have figured this out. What is the key there? The Lee Sin seems to be a
Okay.
part of it, but that Ezreal also doing a really great job keeping him in this game. 42-15, just a couple more rounds to go for Numano to maybe upset Kjaos at the final here in this lobby.
Yeah, definitely a large potential there. There wasn't the chalice, so I think that was actually a big deal there. No chalice at the start of that fight. Numano's repositioning every single fight is actually so good. Repositions like even sometimes into the front line for those units. Like it's just constantly moving around. Like the
Mhm.
Kindred's just actually flying around there. Okay. So Kindred's gonna be in the middle of the composition there. See how this ends up working out. Talon does jump towards it.
Yeah, and something else that Numano did that was actually really, really cool was even though Kindred had those two chalices, did not put him next to someone because that Kindred was the DPS there. As we're losing slowly but surely. If your name is Numano, will this Ash be able to bring it back? There's so many green health bars still online, and that Azir is going to push him down for the count. As Kjaos will come in with our first lobby win today, getting 10 points to start things off here on Fight Night Rising.
Yeah, 10 points, a great start there. And honestly, if we look back at round 2-6, we can kind of predict that that's likely that that game would go. Of course, it's not going to tell the story all the time because there was a lot of solid play there, solid repositioning, just a good play over the course of the whole game that Kjaos had right there. But if you have that direction, you have the items, it's going to be pretty solid. Didn't even need a third great talent item because the Shiv was on the Talon. That's not great. Talon spends more time jumping around than actually utilizing auto attacks for those Shiv procs, but it really didn't even matter at that point. Really well played to Kjaos and to Numano as well, though, for not finding what Numano wanted to find on the level 7 roll down, but saying, okay, I found a bunch of Kindreds. I have two Nikos. I actually can go Kindred 3 here. And I thought that would be like a top 4, maybe a third place at most there, but some really good positioning for a few rounds from Numano there. It actually let him get to top 2 and actually a threat to win the lobby there. There was some rounds that went
Two.
Numano's way. Yeah,
Yeah.
multiple
2
rounds.
whole rounds, and the thing about Numano that is, I think, the most terrifying, for any other player going up against him is, you can go into a lobby with Sphinx and be like, "Okay, you're probably gonna be looking for talent." You can probably go into some other people and be like, "You're probably gonna be running, Warlords to start or something," right? But with
Yeah,
Numano, you have no clue. He could play literally everything, and I think we've seen him win a lobby with, like, 4 different comps.
yeah.
He has, like, an over, like, 50 or 60% top 4 percentage in all the weeks he's been here on Fight Night, right, per the lobbies. I remember checking in, during the second lobby last week where it was definitely over 50% for top 4s, and even winning at that at that point, I
Yeah, it
believe.
was yeah,
So
last week I remember saying the stat that, like, it was 50% just win rate right there. Not gonna win this game, unfortunately, but as we see the scores here, is able to get second. Kjaos got first, Hypnoticus, with 7 points in Esportslaw. Esportslaw think they have a chance or think they have a chance to win today. I mean, starting off with a fourth
mhm.
is not bad. It's pretty solid in terms of doing that. The returning winner, though, Siegs, definitely has his work cut out for him there, starting off with a fat 8th place. Is a little feels bad, but still 3 more games to go.
Mhm. The returning winner's curse. It's not just for week 3. Apparently, it's also
Yeah.
for week 1, and it's not the end of the world, but I mean, it's like being like, "All right, I'm gonna run this race, but I want to start in last place." Right? Like I'm challenging myself. It could be a little bit more if you've been playing Hades. It could be like Sisyphus rolling the rock up the hill, only for it to having to fall down. And we could see Sigs in that exact same situation come lobby 4 if he's in striking distance of the top 3, all because of one 8th place finish. But we've gotten a lot of top 3 finishers who have also finished 8th in one
Yeah.
lobby. It's all about not letting history repeat itself. You got to learn from that history. As we're going over to Siegs again, returning champ, but just recently 8th place in that first lobby.
I wonder, have we seen someone who has won a fight night with also going 8th in one of the games? Maybe?
Yes.
Um,
Um, it
okay.
it's happened 3
Was it
times, I
3
believe,
times?
total.
Okay. Oh, you got the
Uh-huh.
stats all
Yeah,
already
yeah,
there.
yeah. I have,
Nice.
like, a weird mind for this stuff. For some reason, I remember that, but not where my keys are. Um, right?
Hey, that's a
So
your caster, you know, that's impressive stuff. Maybe your day-to-day life
Appreciate it.
from
Appreciate
that.
it.
We love it
That's
here.
that's Primal. We got a last place on a winning week once. There was someone in, I think it was simply Wojtek, maybe, or a European player, who got a last place. Oh, his name is Steven something, but he got last place in the first lobby and then ended up winning by 1 point.
Oh,
And then we had one recently, I believe, with, like it was like a Treebeard lobby, I believe.
yeah.
It's definitely happened 3 total times. The most interesting one was That's Primal because I believe we all said that it's happened before where a person leading the lobby gets eighth in the last lobby. That's kind of what happened there, and I believe happened last week too.
Gotcha, yeah. I just didn't recall if it was a 7th or an 8th in that last game, but it was like, okay, Primal's looking good to win. Oh, wait a minute, it's an 8th. Can he still win? It actually was able
Yep.
to pull that one off. So it can be done for Siegs. There's already some precedent. It's not an impossible task. See if Siegs is able to do that here. The start is not great. You have 2 gloves and
Oh, that's good.
yeah, you 2 gloves, a cloak, and fortunately, Mort Dog is blessed you with 6 gold there instead of 2. That's a pretty good start
It
in
is
this.
pronounced Mort God in that situation, just so you
True,
know.
true,
Yeah,
true.
it's all about the emphasis.
Not a good start when it comes to units, though. There's a tier 2 Nidalee, but no sharpshooters, no like, this shop is actually so, like, I don't like it at all, but choosing to level up here, actually, and okay, I thought it was actually gonna go into some Moonlights, but not going the Moonlight route. Just playing some random units. Like, actually no synergies here besides Exile, which doesn't really count as 1 unit, but
Mhm.
still, I don't think Seeks has hit a Chosen yet, so wants the chance to get a 2-cost Chosen at round 2-2, because 'cause you're guaranteed to hit a Chosen by round 2-2 now if you haven't seen one. So I like that play from Seeks here.
Yeah, and putting in the extra unit because no synergies, but wants to maybe compete for a round win, and looks like
Yeah.
will end up getting it.
Mhm.
This nearly just has to ult. Will survive this TF
Yeah.
ult, and the leveling up it works for now. We'll see if this aggressive strategy will carry him through a couple more rounds.
Okay, hits an Assassin Chosen Diana and has the potential of 5 Dianas, however, already chose to level up. So I don't think that will be any terms of any sort of committal. It is curious though because there are still good items for it. QSS, IE, Gunblade, Titan's Resolve, any combination of those items are solid. Siegs is going to slam that Diana, pick it up anyways. Run the Nunu for 2 Brawler, and it's just gonna look to keep win streaking there. Siegs, I believe, was in like the bottom half of the lobby for the majority of the game
Mhm.
last game, so wants to start off not like that again. Maybe he's not comfortable with going for that loss streak initially.
Yeah.
Wants to start off strong with a win streak.
TFT can definitely be frustrating in that way where you feel like you're doing everything right, but so is the rest of the lobby,
Yeah.
right? So you don't get to take advantage of anyone else's mistakes because they're not quite making them. This is unfortunate though for Siegs, as it looks like Hypnoticus got some pretty good units to start with. This
Ooh,
Nidalee is just going to ignore the horse right in front of her, and going to go ahead and take out all the trash instead. But I guess it's going to be late on trash day as Siegs is going to fall. Hypnoticus will end up taking the W there.
yeah, oh man, if there was any completed item that Siegs was comfortable with slamming there, that would have been a round win because the Diana just barely wasn't able to kill off that Thresh before it got the shield out there. Siegs is going to
Oh
suck
man.
Chosen now and is going to go for at least some sharpshooters right now in the early game, but it's making up to 10 gold, which is still solid. Maybe gonna still look to lose streak though, in order to get some sort of streak going.
You pretty much just gave him like miscongeniality, right? It was like a participation award. You got 10 gold,
Yeah,
right? But nothing else seems to be going your way. So this is where you get to like really see how good a player is, in my opinion, is truly identifying best on board, right? You're not going to potentially get these wins. The Nidalee is strong, but doesn't have the item. So it might be better to just let yourself lose at this point. But like you said, Siegs didn't do well the last time he lost streaks. So I think pushing for that early level is, I, at least we're at 10 gold, like you said. But again, it's almost like that at least, right? It could be going better. But we do have a little bit of a safety net for Siegs.
definitely. Sphinx though, bottom half of the lobby once again, actually in last right now, 84 HP. maybe this is a patch where Sphinx is struggling a little bit. I mean, it's too early to say in this particular game because you can go on a
Mhm.
loss streak and still come back and power spike again later on. Hey, if you low real early, it is by no means going to condemn you to a bottom four finish.
Yeah.
Doesn't really have too much going on, at least right now, though.
The thing about Sphinx that, like we said, has been concerning in the past is he usually goes like 10, 8, 7, 6, right, in his lobby scores, which gets you a solid top three, right? And this is going to be totally. Oh, I got.
Oh,
Oh,
uh,
oh.
all right, very good.
You got it, man. Go for it.
All right. No, it's, Gunmay here. Gunmay got it as well. Round win. Wow. Great job, Gunmay. With some, I think it was some sharpshooters. It was not warlords actually. Numano though. Numano, 100 HP still. Once again, in a different game, different time. Numano doing it once again.
I I don't know, man. There's something special about this guy in terms of how he approaches the game. I've seen it from other players. Like I definitely like the way that he plays. Like I've definitely lauded players like DQA for a very similar reason. I'm very not this kind of player. I think maybe that's why I see it so much is I'm not someone who starts well in like any game really. But especially TFT, where I'm actually more comfortable loose streaking now at the beginning of the game. I've done this whole like inting strategy for 8 games in a row, and I've been like really workshopping that for the last week. So the way that Numano plays, or the way that DQA plays, Treebeard used to play like this in some other sets. Sphinx can as well, which is this early game kind of rush start, which is develop a lead, right? Because if you find yourself at like the 4-1 carousel, ahead of fourth place by like 30, 40 HP, there's probably enough room for you to lose all of the rounds and potentially get top four.
Yeah.
And so some players just really love winning as many rounds as they can in a row until they absolutely can't anymore, and then they fall off the leaderboard. And Numano did that kind of last lobby. I feel like he should have gotten fourth, but got that second. And so with this fast start, it really sets you up for a top four. It's all about when you transition into how do I win. Right. So sitting at 100 HP now, especially with Sphinx at 64, means that there's like an 80% chance that Numano will finish ahead of Sphinx. But the rest of the lobby needs to figure out its way to be very confident about Numano's way. But man, there aren't a lot of people who have that kind of control over the early game like DQA and Numano do.
Yeah, definitely not. It's very interesting with the frequency of which they're able to do that. Numano especially. I think actually this playstyle is really, really good right now in terms of just taking an early lead and propelling you into a top four with just playing flexible. Because while it's great to play the flavor of the month and to play Morganas and stuff, and if you hit it, great, you don't need to. And while half the lobby is going to be just like kind of like killing themselves by trying to all roll for Morgana. If as long as you're playing a solid composition with a solid start, you can out survival those players who like don't hit or they hit too late or something like that, and you can farm at least top fours here, if not more, as we saw Numano get what you said and what I said earlier is I thought it was going to be a fourth into a second, and you can win a fight night off of that. You can win
Mhm.
a string of 4 games by being consistent like that. Esportslaw went fourth last game, is trying to go to a consistent top four again, is not also wanting to play the kind of flavor of the week Morgana here, but looking to go with duelist composition. Level 4 has 50 gold right now and 5 Yasuos.
And so this is still with stats from last patch, but Duelist did have the highest top four rate out of any chosen. I believe it's because of who we're looking at right now. It's that Yasuo, one of the only one cost units that can do something in the late game. And since he's DPS is actually quite impressive
Yeah.
for Yasuo to be able to do that, as we have all six duelists now deciding to go for the six instead of getting a little bit of a defense going. We are already losing. We have 50 gold, so we gotta start making some moves. And I think making the decision to put the six duelists down is a good one because you know how I hate it when players make like half decisions,
Yeah.
right? And yeah,
Oh, huh. Jinx there. Morgana 2 right now on 3-2, but also has 0 gold. I think that's a worth trade though if you're Jinxed. Gonna
the
be a
black
lot
bull
of
could be
trade
better.
there. Yeah. There's no items, however, though, that are great. Do they need items? Nope. Guess actually? Okay, Jana wins this, right? One more auto? Okay. That was really close.
Um, oh, Jana and winning things just barely. In this game,
Sure.
Esportslaw, Mr. Bryce Blum, I believe,
Yep.
is going to continue running that 6 duelist. One of our most well-known duelist players, locodoco, runs this in his sleep. So it's also really interesting to see someone like Loco, who is the top tier of a duelist comp, and then seeing some up-and-coming players who are self-admittedly getting better and trying to compete and see how they run something like this. And it even comes down to, I remember one week someone came back and even their mouse moved more confident. Oh, it was Wolfie, right? Wolfie was a Pokemon player previously, and he came back another time, and even his mouse was moving more confidently. And I can definitely like see a lot of that confidence and a lot of that concentration coming in from Esportslaw right now. But we got to start getting those tier twos. There's nothing worse than getting everything you need and then never seeing those units again in those packs.
Definitely. And it's so true talking about you just mass moving more confidently because you can tell when a player is like they're like, they need to like think about things for like so long and it's like their mouse is
Hmm.
like kind of lingering because they're like, do I want to do this? Do I not? I
Yep.
don't know. When you got a game plan, you know what you're doing, and you're so comfortable with the game at that point, you just do it like, like nothing. You do it in your sleep. You're like loco with duelists, right? And
Hmm.
esports Lodge trying to recreate some of that similar kind of success with duelists here. The roles are not super kind right now, but at least gonna try to go for some good items. Has a crit glove on the bench here. Maybe going for an IE. Maybe going for QSS. Looks like it's gonna be IE though.
I like the IE. It's a lot of really good, just general damage on whoever you put it on. To have auto crits, the DPS is going to raise exponentially from that. So it's not like tier twoing a unit. It's going to take you a lot further as it scales with the rest of the game, and other items as well. So
Yep.
those crits are going to be really nice. We do have that Nico's, which is always like a little extra something something, right? It's that like secret ingredient in that chili, which is that Nico's help. How are you going to institute it? Because that is where we see a lot of players find that, decision
Oh.
paralysis, right? As we do find like early Callista. If you're going to early hit on a duelist unit, that's definitely one that you're going to be happy about. But no items. You're going to want attack speed on Callista
Oh.
usually. But as we get Duelist 4, Riven 2, back with the Sunfire Cave, this is what you call intention, my friends. I love this.
All right. What a pivot there, actually. The unfortunate thing is that there is actually zero other Dusk units right now. He's
It's
typing something in chat. Actually, I'm really curious what he's typing in chat right now. I can't see all of it cut off by our cameras here. But that was intention. See if it's gonna be able to work out for esports law though, because like immediately once you hit a Callista 2, you're like, nope, screw my duelists. It's a Riven 2 angle, it's a Dusk game. You're level
mhm.
5 right now still on 3-5. I don't know. It's a risk. It is definitely a risk there.
I love
I think
it.
we're decent though.
If you're gonna take a risk, you got to go for it, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it's bad for like the energy to like half commit to a risk, right? Like if you're like all in, I feel like the rolls usually go your way, and any apprehension means that you're probably gonna regret your decision. All of that is just colloquial and heuristic, of course, um, but I believe it, so it must be true. As esports law now is gonna go ahead and pass on the Moonlight Lysandra, obviously,
Yeah.
as this Callista in the corner is going to wait for some friends to start popping off. Getting another Dusk would be absolutely amazing. As something that people forget about the Dusk units is the extra power they get
Yeah.
versus everyone else. And the way that Riven works now is you pretty much have to have that extra power. Not this early, but once that first number in the round is like 5, you have to have some more Dusks in your comp.
Did I just see an IE Tom Kent there from Siegs? I I don't know if I'm crazy or
So
not.
his base attack damage is actually pretty high, and if you put an assassin spat on him, have some fun. That's all I have to say.
Yep. That's all I have to say. Yep. Checking in Numano now. Okay, Numano is committing to going for Lysandra 4 here, and I like that. I was curious
Good night,
earlier if
Moon.
he was gonna do that because of the start. Yes, we're actually seeing some good night moon. Is going to be 3 Dianas away still. Is gonna make a chalice for this Lysandra as well. I like this. It goes back to what I was saying earlier about Numano and not wanting to conform to playing, all the Morganas, but having a good start, gonna outstrive the people who low roll and trying to force that flavor of the month thing and gonna go for a top 4 that way. And when you're still at 100 HP while level 5 on 4-1, that's just remarkable at this point, really. You really do need to find Dyna 3, though. I think Numano should roll down even past 50. I don't know. I
Got a
say that
couple
very
more
hesitantly.
rounds,
Yeah,
yeah.
I guess you don't need to roll past 50 here. It'd be nice, but I guess you have some HP to sacrifice being at
Really?
100 still.
Yeah, that's all of it. So he's got all of his economy still.
Yeah.
Oh, this one might be a tad harder to win out on, but Lysandra gets that second ult off.
Yeah.
But we've got the Diana in the back line, does get those shields off. Beautiful snare from that Lux. And this is positioning coming into play for our Moonlight units and the slowest auto attacking champions on the Janna. This could not be going better for Numano against the type of team comp that Siegs has, and we finally do get that eat. So this could have been way worse, I think, for Numano. And for the second time in a row, we witnessed Numano's lose streak end at 10 games in a row to start. But checking in, 90 HP versus second place at 77. That's a lead, and I'd be surprised if a 34-point lead gets abolished at some point in the future. This is looking like a pretty safe top four. This comp we've not seen win very often, so I can't commit to that just yet. But the Jeweled Gauntlet blue buff on the Lysandra should be able to one-shot a lot of people, especially with the new targeting with Lysandra as well.
Definitely. It's such a, like, it feels bad when you're one Diana away from tier 4 Lysandre and not able to hit it. Numano is exercising patience, however, and not gonna overcommit for it, like I had alluded to perhaps doing just a round before. Some good patience here from Numano. And this is a really good tech from Sphinx here, I think, with the Declaw on the Ashe, because not only is it going to protect against this Lysandre here, but it's going to protect against all the Morgana pools that we're going to see later on into the game. Declaw means that she's going to have more uptime with her IE to get that much more damage. You don't need the Last Whisper because Vanguards aren't as prevalent in this meta here. Rudan's actually was buffed as well in the last patch. Now, instead of doing 70% damage in that bolt, it will do 100% damage on that bolt as well. So experimenting, finding a place for Rudan's to work out well there, though, and it's looking solid. And finally, Numano hits. That's going to be a instant level up and a Lysandra 4 in the coming round.
Good night, Moon.
Good
See,
night, Moon.
good night, Numano. Good night, friends. Good night, whoever I face next. As Good Night Moon
Probably.
is coming in
Oh,
hot, as that was a Dusk Jin, I think
yeah,
is
that
what
was
we saw.
Dusk Jin 2 there from Esportslaw. That's a solid pivot. I love seeing this matchup here because I actually didn't know which way this would go.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Lissandra's really strong, but this Jin 4th shot. Oh, never.
Oh.
Okay. Ne- oh, never mind.
Oh,
We're
oops.
not going to see it. Good
Yeah.
night, man.
Good night, Moon. Good night, Moon. Good night, Bryce. Good night, Law. How fu how funny would it be if you could just go into, like, the courtroom and be like, "Good night," and then just leave? Everyone just falls asleep. So Esportslaw is going to fall once again. This is actually pretty good tempo for Numano. The fact that he has only lost 2 rounds running this comp is actually quite good for him. And so to be at 84 HP, continuing developing a pretty good economy, didn't have to roll down all that much. I'd be happy if I were him right now in terms of my status in the lobby. And you got to give it a little bit to Siegs too, sitting at 71 HP in third place, doing much better than the last lobby. But again, a precipitous fall after third place.
Curious what item Numano wanted to go there. Chose to get a glove there instead of a rod. I was gonna think maybe another AP item for the Lysandra, but perhaps is going to be something else. That is a Shen 2 at this point, though. There's potential of a Zeke's, but no, it's going to be IE to pair along with that Jewel Gauntlet for the Lysandra here. And now it will always critically strike. And Lysandra 4 does a lot of damage. We saw it crit and one-shot that Jin in the last fight. It is going to always crit now and do that much damage. Yeah, watch out.
Oh man. It's gonna be a dark time here as Moonlight gonna be coming through. We're gonna see it on Jinx, who is running the meta comp right now. We've got that Morgana only with a Chalice though, and with the Adept only on one side. That's when Adept really gets strong. It's gonna keep those ultimates just a little bit later, but we do have the Dazzler trait really hurting some of those Moonlight units. But with that Lysandra 4, with that Jeweled Gauntlet, and even those auto, you see that auto attack?
Yep.
They're
That's her throat.
destroying.
And with IE, it means all your autos are gonna crit as well, like, there was 10k damage there from that Lissandra. That is crazy. Another thing that's crazy right here is I think Hypnoticus's comp because you have a Dusk Jinx. Not something you see every day though. Probably just holding out for a Jin 2 and then going to Dusk Jin at that point, as well as find what units are missing here. In terms of Dusk units, just a Lilia and there's one other.
Vayne?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh no,
Oh, no,
Vayne's
there's
there.
the Vayne. So we've got Vayne, Lilia. Oh,
Vayne,
Cassiopeia.
Cassiopeia's in as well.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
there she is.
All
She's
right.
she's blending in. Yeah, anyway, so we've got all of the dusk that we can see on on this board. We'll get you there in just a second, but with that,
Oh, there's just Lilia. There's just I'm always thinking that you have a chosen dusk at this point in time if you're running this, but there is no chosen dusk. So I'm like, there should be 6 right now. I
I know,
swear the dusk,
right?
but
And
no, it's find the Lilia.
I learned
Um,
not to just hopelessly trust my friends. I'm just, I'm just kidding.
I definitely made it there. I'm like, there's one missing.
No, I could have known. Don't worry about it. As I like the Jinx Dusk because that rocket will actually do a lot of AoE damage
Yeah.
to everybody. But we shall see what that's going to be like. 5 Dusk with this sharpshooter comp is very, very interesting. I can't tell you that I've seen this personally.
Yeah, no. I think I have seen at one point a 4 sharpshooter, 6 dusk comp, and it was really good. It did have a dusk chosen as well as a dusk spatula in there. Hypnoticus's roll down here needs to be good though. There's no room for it to be. Ooh, okay. I was gonna say there's no room for it to be bad. It does take the first chosen available there, which was the Sejuani Vanguard, which is still good. It is still good. It's just not a 6 dusk kind of play there. Gonna find another Jin. Gonna find a Yone there. Still has 1 unit to put in. Is rolling aggressively and puts in some stuff that probably didn't need to put in there. That Ashe is gonna do nothing. There's a Vayne 1 to give 5 dusk again. Probably just rolling for Lilia there to put the Lilia for 6 dusk.
It's going to be up to the sharpshooters in at the corner, the Jinx to CC these
It's really close.
brawlers. Oh, it's going to be very, very close. Oh, 2 units in the way of Hypnoticus there. Also, got to give him credit for the sure as it is a twofer of a joke. It's not only him being a keeper, but we've got keepers in the game. So I wonder if that I wonder if that twofer was intentional as we get back to Hypnoticus on the board. We're still looking for that Jin at
There's
2. We
a
finally do find that Lilia. We're going to go ahead and pick up that Azir anyway to keep our keeper. I mean, it's on the shirt, might as well. And we're going to keep the Lilia on the bench. There is an opportunity for Dusk 6, but where do you put her?
Yeah,
Do you
it's a sell Jinx if you're gonna do it, because you want the Azirin as well. I mean, you could take ooh, okay, yeah, I don't like this though, but I guess it's actually fine because you have 6 Dusk, you gotta put your Hodge on the Riven for a secondary item there. You still have Jinx right now, which, I mean, Jinx is looking pretty solid at this point. She still does a bit of damage. You need your Riven to pop off here though, which she's not doing right now against Numano's Lissandra 4.
Good night, Moon. Good
And
night,
now only 1
Hypnoticus.
life left. 5 HP
Yeah.
for Proteus here.
Maybe going completely to sleep after this round. 5 HP, Kjaos at 19. What a difference of game. And you also have to give credit to Sphinx, who I think has been on the bottom side of the leaderboard almost at every single point of today, except right now seems to be able to have found himself some solid ground. Now Hypnoticus needs to be able to do the exact same thing. In terms of itemization, this is a little awkward. We do have the Dusk on the Jinx, which is a good amount of damage. We have 2 Rivens, but none of that is really going to change anything on board right now, which
Yeah.
is the most unfortunate thing for Hypnoticus. Is where this is what I mean by like how I want players to be a little bit more intentional, right? Like make that
Yep.
decision, commit to it, and because if you're making a decision as time runs out, I have found that it's most likely going to be the wrong decision. As you got to go with your gut most of the time.
Yeah. I think I'm agreeing with you here. I'm not seeing a lot of, what I would think are optimal, like, "Okay, this is gonna get me at least 1 more placement," and actually, maybe it is just that. Maybe, like, these decisions are gonna get me 1 more placement in the game, but they're not gonna set me up for long-term success here, and I don't even think it's going to get to that point unless the Riven's able to pull off a miracle here. The Ashe is slowly wailing away. Riven, though, did roll healing on the Hodge. It's possible?
The
No,
declaw though.
the Declaw. 10k
Mm.
Riven damage, but it was not enough. That's gonna be Hypnoticus going out in 8th. And Esportslaw, 7 HP, perhaps falling closely behind. Kjaos at 10 as well.
We have Sphinx's POV right now looking at Elderwoods, going ahead and taking the Shroud of Stillness, one of the best completed items. If you're like picking, third or fourth in carousel and there's a Shroud of Stillness there, you're gonna find value with that item. And keeping people from their ultimates is always a good thing if you don't get your like first or second choice. It's a good alternative item get for you.
Definitely.
As we're gonna look at Sphinx's board here in just a second, it looks like we've got Azir, we've got some Elderwood sets there, a couple
Yep.
hunters. Um,
Azir too,
wow,
even.
Azir too with the Raptidons.
It's yeah, ooh, wow, is my reaction as well. It's like, okay, not only is it Nazir, but it's Nazir too with a couple items there. I don't even know offhand how much base damage the Azir wall does, but it's gonna be doing a lot with the death cap recent buff there. And not only is it CC, it's gonna be a damage threat as well. The Ash, talking about the Declaw option earlier, I think it's solid. I think this is good, and there's a reason why Sphinx has won the past 2 rounds. Up against Kjaos, and okay, now I understand what's going wrong here for Kjaos. That is an Akali and not a Talon, and it's only a Morgana 1 the other side there. I think this is gonna be a Kjaos going out in the 7th, if maybe not for Esportslaw, if Esportslaw loses as well. But yeah, this fight here is just it's over.
And so we're going to see the meta comp fall. And you can play the meta comp, but if you don't hit, it's still not going to get you a top 4. And that's
Yep.
why sometimes being able to adjust and be flexible to the meta can be a strong idea, just like Sphinx did in this lobby.
Yeah, that is a great segue to that point because talked about it earlier with Numano and now with Sphinx as well. You don't need to force the flavor of the week if if everyone's going to be going for it. And so some people just won't hit. You're going to be able to farm top 4s off the people who try to force it. Of course, people who do hit, though, they're probably going to be ones that win the game. It's just kind of risky at that point. Like we
Mhm.
might see Gunmay, who has hit in a scenario to win the whole lobby, especially considering he's at 46 HP right now, which is a lot to work with. Of course, Numano is kind of an outlier here at 84, but still. I mean, Jinxed as well actually has a solid comp here. Only one item on the Morgana, but it's kind of all you need. I guess you really want a Morello's too, which I don't have, but even still. Oh, the
Oh,
talent does barely take out the Ashe there, actually. But it might fall to the Nunu.
it might fall. No. Oh, okay. So that was the most clutch Lux light
Yeah.
binding that you will ever see in TFT, by the way. It almost made Sphinx lose. That was really, really close because I was about to say with the Declaw, it's actually countering that Morgana quite well because it's going to do especially well against damage over time since the percentage is going to be smaller for a
Yeah.
spell like that. But it's not going to do well against that Talon in your face. And that's where we talk about those secondary carries. The Talon got into that Ash's face, and then just by the skin of that light, right? The light binding hits, the Ash stops moving, and with just that little bit of extra damage with the pool, we're able to take him down as we get a
Yeah.
triple item Nexus minion too with that
Yeah.
Bloodthirster, which would have been great on Ash, but I want to see where these other items are going to go,
You
especially since it's Zeke's and QSS too.
slap them all on Warwick. Actually, every single one of these items on Warwick, and I think that's a wrap right now. There's the Zeeks, the BT. I think the BT. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just all items. Just slap them on the Warwick. I guess there's an argument to QSS something else, but yeah, okay. They're
Mhm.
all going to Warwick there, and Warwick is now going to be a damage threat as well as the Ashe here in this fight. There is no Divine, which is kind of unfortunate because you would like there for you to Divine to supplement the Warwick to letting him be more survivable. Um, Numano though, still 84 HP. The Warwick's actually stuck right now because the Kindred placement there. So Sphinx kind of little bit trailed there, just slightly. Finally gets to it to auto attack here.
Oh no! Sometimes you think so hard about that positioning, you end up blocking your own unit. It
Oh,
was Jinx last one, and it was the Warwick this time around. And you never know if that Warwick was able to get some of that damage off a little earlier. If this would be going a little bit better,
okay.
you do end up winning. You take down Goodnight Moon, saying good morning instead. And so Sphinx should actually feel really good about this. We're at our top 4. Siegs ends up falling. Esportslaw fell a couple rounds ago. So Sphinx somehow this is where you really get to say this player player is growing, and we say it every single week, but old Sphinx 6 months ago, I don't think pulls this off, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah,
And
that's for sure. I agree.
it's so interesting because um, three of the members here in the top four are like OG TFT people, with Jinxed, Sphinx, and Gunmay like being some of the first TFT streamers that I think a lot of us ended up seeing. And it's good to see them all back, that the old guard can still compete in some of these newer sets.
Definitely. And all of a sudden, we already actually had our top four right now. Esportslaw and Siegs did fall. Jinx, Sphinx, Gunmay, and Numano are in our top four. And that's a top four that I'm like, okay, yeah, that checks out. All these players super, super strong. Gunmay, Sphinx having a bit of a better game right now. And Numano, of course, just playing real well, playing nuts per usual. I mean, what more
This
can
is
you
insane.
expect, honestly?
I don't know if we've ever seen this kind of performance consistently from someone before. Like we
Yeah.
talk about Gunmay
Gunmay.
coming in for 12 weeks, but I mean some of those were close. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
definitely. Gunmay, yeah, for a while, Gunmay came in, did really well the first couple of games, then, like, had some poor, like, games 3 and
Yeah, he
4,
got
so,
third a
like
lot.
yeah, he got 3rd a lot, definitely, like, didn't win that many actually out of that 12 weeks, just, like, got the top 3 consistently, was, part of that returning cast, of course.
Mhm.
But Numano, though, the top 1 percentage rate is just so, so damn high.
Yeah, 42-point lead right now on second place. So Sphinx and Gunmay, just based off of where their HP, will be eliminating each other, most likely before Nimano even gets close to being eliminated themselves. So this is a battle for second place between Gunmay and Sphinx, and it's really all about that luck of the draw, too, because it seems like this particular comp does pretty well against the Morgana. Um, uh, it's all about if those black pools hit or miss. There's two Morganas this time, and that taunt is actually potentially going to save. But no, because of the second Morgana,
You
is
do
going to
that.
end up targeting that Lux. And this is not a way you like losing the game, but it's going to end up happening anyway, as Numana will fall, but 28 HP each way. Maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe Numana's the weakest
Hey.
here, and Gunmay and Sphinx are just going to keep picking off rounds against him.
Honestly, it's possible. That round was really close, so I think that if we replayed that round, like 10 times, Numano would probably win. I don't know, at least like 3 or 4, if not more. I don't really know the exact matchup offhand, 'cause we don't see Lissandra Forest that much at all. I did think for a hot second there that ZZ Rot minion was going to take out both Morganas there. It was looking real close. Was not the case at the end of the day, however, but still, like looking at Numano's comp right now, it's for Mystic, great at dealing with Morganas. It's not great at dealing well with the Ashe, but that's why you have Adept in there. There's no QSS on the Ashe. There's now a Yone 2. It has Giant Slayer and RFC. Numano is only getting stronger with these roles and these items coming through from the carousel there.
Yone with RFC Giant Slayer after he ults. That's going to be nuts
Yeah.
in terms of being able to burst down pretty much anybody. It doesn't matter how much HP you have. And something that that's an enormous Yone
Oh,
ult.
yeah.
That is insane. And just to kind of describe why that is so good, he marks everybody that he ults. So you'll only see him dash once. But after he gets his ult, he will go to someone that he marks for a little bit more damage. A Sphinx does lose to Gunmay, should survive with 28 HP.
Yeah.
It has one more round to go. We know Sphinx can beat Numano, but Sphinx can't beat Gunmay. Can Gunmay beat Sphinx this time around?
It seems like honestly, all these matchups could go either way, just depending on how the fight goes, how positioning goes with, and how Morgana RNG happens as well with the Talons there. Going to Oh, okay, never mind. I was like, "Oh, there's no Dazzler being run by Gunmay here," but it's a Dazzler chosen actually on the Morgana. I would have, I think, instead liked to see a keep on the Lux there and actually go for an Ezreal for 4 Dazzler, because I believe you would definitely win the Sphinx matchup with that. But I guess winning the Sphinx matchup regardless. So I guess it's not like too necessary is
Mhm.
going up against Numano's Ghost here with the Lissandra 4, and Lissandra 4 is going to clean up there with the Yone. Gunmay 7 HP. Did Sphinx fall? Yes.
Yeah.
Sphinx fell to Numano.
All right, so it ended up ringing true. That was a battle for second, a little bit too much of a lead for Numano, but Numano's Ghost beat Gunmay, and if that was a PvP round, we'd actually be over. Right and now, Gunmay would have already fallen in second place. So Numano has about 3 or 4 rounds to work with. And the crazy thing about it is, like you said, he could still potentially get stronger with some of these items. We have IE now with 2 Morganas on the field. Such a good character. Do you know if the damage stacks if the pools are on top of each other?
It should, I believe. Yeah, I think they
Yeah.
should both tick. The only thing that wouldn't is like if they both had Morellas, but only one has Morellas, that's irrelevant. So yeah, both damages should still go underway. That is a Yone 2 for Gunmay now, and it has blue buff. I think this is really solid. If somehow Gunmay is able to win the next 3 rounds and still not win the game, there's potential for like force nature on the carousel right now. But Gunmay is just thinking, how can I survive 1 round at a time right now? Because this is such an uphill battle, especially
Mhm.
with the divine spatula now from Numano on that Yone.
Oh, Jesus. That Yone is going to be spicy, but we've got
Yes.
the 2 assassins. Good, targeting there. The Dazzler, the Lysandra in the back, though, is gonna be able to target the Talon and take him down, so gonna be feeding a little bit, and that's the problem with Talon sometimes, is he can either win you the round or lose it for you, as Goodnight Moon looks to be setting up for the first lobby win ever in a Fight Night Rising. We finally get to say it. Good night, lobby. Good
Yep.
night, Moon, as we enter halftime with a non-Morgana comp winning. That just again goes to show how good Numano is at this game.
Yeah, no, everything went so right for Numano there, and it goes to show that even in the flavor of the weak compositions like Morgana there was even 2 Morganas there for Gunmay, but it was still not good enough to beat a capped out Moonlight comp there with Lysandra 4 going to level 9, getting 4 Mystic in, getting Yone 2, everything lined up there, and that's the beauty of set 4 is you can still win in the face of outliers when it comes to just compositional strengths. And Numano played that exceptionally well right there. As we'll check in with our scores right now, actually, Poggy Numano has such a sizable lead right now, 18 points. The rest of the lobby is pretty close. Sans Siegs, a little bit of a struggle there at 5 points at the bottom. Probably can't win for tonight, but still can compete for that top 3.
I mean, Numano kind of making it so even Kjaos is going to have a hard time winning
Yeah.
tonight. And just so everyone knows, part of me doesn't like saying it, but Numano is playing so well. I feel like I have to. Is in order to get the record, at least tie the record for Fight Night, you have to get 2 seconds and 2 firsts. So we're definitely still 36 points is the record. So it is beatable. Someone
Yeah.
can beat that. And right now, Numano on track. So we're definitely going to be taking a look at that throughout the next 2 lobbies. He's going to have to finish in the top 2 each time, but the record could potentially be tied or broken today as well.
It most definitely can. I'm excited to see if it will be broken, but first, we're going to have a quick 5-minute break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back at you with some more Fight Night Rising just after this. Welcome back, everyone, to this week's Fight Night Rising. We've had a couple of spectacular games where Numano has reigned supreme, a second place, and then a first place, but there is still two more games left, Boop, and anything could happen. I'm not sure if anyone's going to contest first place, but actually, that's a good question for you, Boop. Do you think anyone has the potential to surpass Numano here with how well he's been playing, not only this week, but the past 2 weeks as well?
So I'll give you the realistic answer, which is
Sure.
probably not.
Yeah.
The only way this happens is if we see Numano play like we've never seen him play before, right? We have never seen him bomb out. However, we've also not seen Numano with this kind of lead before. And when you're setting the pace, that's a type of pressure that can be really new for some people. And while he has won, before on his first week here, 3 weeks, that can still be a newer place to be. So if there is a time where someone might be a little bit on edge or being a little bit nervous. It might be like, I can't screw this up. I have a big lead and I can't drop the ball here. And that's where I can maybe see some trouble. But realistically, that's like going from first to second
Yeah.
rather than like first to fourth. But it is going to be very interesting to see how the rest of the lobby kind of reacts to Numano. If they're going to kind of let him run free with a lot of these comps, like he has these first two lobbies, or if they're going to be a little bit more pointed and challenging him specifically.
Yeah, I mean, we see how well Numano is just able to play with whatever comes his way. Game one, it's like, okay, I'll roll, try to find Morgana, but I won't overcommit to it. I actually want to give more praise to that game number one performance by Numano there, because while the majority of the lobby is going for Morgana there, he rolled, didn't hit it, but also didn't overcommit for it. Cut the losses like actually perfectly exactly where he needed to have another viable
Mhm.
route, and ended up hitting that viable route with the Kindred 3 and got a second place from there. Like, that is not something that the majority of players would do. A lot of people right there in that scenario would overcommit, but Numano did not and played, like, pretty perfectly, I would say, near perfectly in that scenario.
What was the stat you told me earlier? He's played 10 total
Yeah,
lobbies and have won,
he's
right?
played 10 total lobbies and won it so far and has gotten first place in 4 out of, those 10 lobbies, so nearly a 50%, of course, 40% win rate overall in Fight Night, and when it comes to top 4s, I believe it's a 8 out of 10, maybe 7 out of 10 actually in
Still,
top 4ing, but it's still
still.
really, really good.
Yeah, I think some on the ladder, like the average is like on the highest we'll get to like 20% or
Yeah,
30% top four, right? So in a place where, it's Fight Night Rising, but we've had incredible lobbies here. Numano has arguably been a part of two of the strongest three lobbies we've ever had
yeah,
here
yeah,
at Fight Night. And to be able to say the same thing for this kind of unknown player. Some people saw him in the Japanese scene and on ladder before, but I mean, really making a splash. And I know has definitely made us pay more attention to him specifically, as he has a 6 point lead right now to everyone else on the leaderboard.
yeah, as we go into game 3, we'll see if Numano is able to, secure an even greater lead or if someone will be able to close the gap there. We have a lot of people around the middle of the pack just looking at the scores right now. Like, we have Kjaos at 12 points. We have a three-way tie at 10 points between Gunmay, Jinxed, and Sphinx, all very strong players who I'm sure they're thinking about how can I play these next couple of games to surpass Numano, get at
Mhm.
least into the top 3, if not win overall. Checking in first with Siegs right now, but Siegs has not had the day that we were hoping that he would, especially coming off a win in the last week. Siegs, I think, still has the potential to be able to top 3 if these next couple of games go really well, but with an 8th and then I believe a 5th in the last game, at least there's some improvement. So we have that
Yeah.
precedent going for us. Siegs maybe can top 4 this game.
I guess one of the best things about going eighth, if you are a glass half full type of person, is there's nothing but I can't go any lower. I can
True.
tie, right? I
Yeah.
can get eighth again, which I'm very experienced in. But the the other aspect of that is I can only be better, and that's a really good mindset to have if you find yourself in Sieg's position. Is all right. I got eighth. It might not be like good for your mental to be like, I'm gonna win the next lobby, right? I think that's how that dreadful thing tilt can maybe come. We can't ever apply tilt to
Yeah.
people. It's we don't know. We're not in their heads, right?
For
But
sure.
when it comes to a situation like this, I think the best mindset is to work your way up from that 8th place. Now you got 5th, let that be the lowest from here on out, right? Maybe get 3rd and then keep moving your way up and you find yourself in the top 3. I believe it's impossible already over 2 lobbies to overtake Numano, even if Numano
I mean, I guess if
gets.
Yamato goes 8th,
It
and
could happen, but that's
yeah,
not
and
going
Thieves
to.
goes like first potentially, but that's such an unlikely world. We'll start off small. We'll start off by Sphinx top 4 in this game, and then
Mhm.
hopefully can get into the top 3 with a performance in game number 4. Some interesting items as the rod flies off the screen. Sometimes that
I got,
happens.
like,
No one's
really
like,
worried for a second.
no, my item.
Is
Where'd
it
it
coming
go?
back?
Yeah, it did come back though, fortunately. That'd be
It's like, you're, like, chasing after a bus,
yeah.
right? Like, constantly in balance going after, your items off the board. Remember
Uh,
Ash arrows traveling infinitely?
oh yeah, they just kept on going and just stuck in
You know,
time space continuum.
there are some bugs that I wish they kept that I found really funny that, like, I didn't find bothersome, right? Like, that Ash thing was really funny to me. The infinite lux binding too was pretty funny to me, and, like, I don't know, I thought it was pretty entertaining, but
Yeah,
visual clarity is important, and
definitely.
we're already getting that Rage Blade on the Vayne. In my
Oh,
opinion, one of the biggest bait characters in all of TFT. I think a
hey,
lot of us remember Vayne from, set 1, is
yeah,
stronger, on tier 3 now, but man, I've probably committed so hard on Vayne so many times this set, putting items on Vayne and stuff, and just getting crushed at the late game because of it.
hey, set 3 Vayne. Pretty pog for a while there.
It's
She
true.
tumbled around, did a lot of good stuff. Back to the one cost Vayne here though. With the Rage Blade, it worked out there, and now Sigs actually has the opportunity for sharpshooters with the sharpshooter chosen in Italy. It's pretty solid. I mean, in the grand scheme of the game, in terms of being an open, flexible player, I don't like the Rage Blade Slam, but Siegs, I think, has a plan for it. It probably now does involve sharpshooters. It's an item that you're not that upset with slamming. If you're gonna put it on like a Jinx, you could. I mean, the standard Jinx build used to be like Shojin, Rage Blade plus QSS. Now there's still opportunities for other things like that, but the Rage Blade isn't terrible. Something else that's not terrible is Esportslaw here. Okay, well, losing the round there, I actually thought it'd be a round to win. I was a little too jumping the gun on my statement there, but either way, Esportslaw does have the chosen Nami with 7 Namis and Ludens right now. Going for that Nami composition is so strong, especially when you have this start there that he does.
And the Nami composition got like a middling nerf in this last patch. Luden's got
Yeah.
a bit of attention as well, but nothing that is going to be like knocking that comp out of the top 4 potential. I mean, it used to be like almost a guaranteed top 4 with like double Ludens, for example, on the Nami. It was one of the best early game compositions and still is. The way that the bubbles work makes it so strong since you are probably going to bubble 2 people close to each other. The Ludens are going to stack at that point and
Yep.
do a lot of damage. And so that's a big reason why it would have felt safe to assume that Luden's Nami was going to win there, as it is probably one of the better early game comps. But I think what we saw was the nerf in terms of the difference there.
Yeah, a little bit there, especially because it would have dealt bonus damage to shields before, and that was the nerf that it doesn't deal bonus damage to shields anymore, just to their crowd-controlled units. Sigs, unfortunately, not keeping the win streak either, is going to fall and choose what units to keep and what to sell in terms of making 10 gold. There's a reoccurring theme going on here today, Boop, and it's
Hmm.
Numano at 100 HP when everybody else has lost it, and Numano's doing it once again. I'm curious. I wanna see Numano's early game actually. I wanna go over and check out what he has going on because Numano is just not only doing it once, only doing it twice, but doing it 3 times in a row. Like there's something there. Numano is quite the force to be reckoned with in the early game.
I think the gamer kids nowadays called it cracked. Um,
Yeah, he is cracked right now.
yeah,
Oh man, that's funny.
I get to, like, flex my oldness at 30 now, before I'd feel awkward and be like, Hello, fellow kids," and then now I'm
Yeah,
like, "You know what? Screw it. It's 2020. I've been at home for 10 months. I don't care anymore." You know? I'm just gonna eat ranch out of the bottle. I don't care. I can't believe I just said that out loud. Why was that the first thing that I said?
I don't know. Hey, if you do that, I don't know if we can cast together
I'm
anymore,
the
dude.
ranch king,
Uh,
man. Ranch king.
oh,
I love ranch dressing, dude. On any, like, fried brown food, it's pretty good. I'll put it on
oh,
hamburgers, pizza, french fries, uh, chips that already are flavored as ranch. I'll put
that's
ranch
so
on.
interesting.
Y yeah, hey, and I'm married, so there's hope for everyone.
There is my one
If
of my
I
best friends, there was one time went to visit her, we got pizza rolls, and she dipped her pizza rolls in ranch. I'm like,
I do
what?
too.
You did?"
I I do too.
There it is, there it is. I found another one, Boop. You are not alone, she's not alone. We all got some friends here.
I know exactly, right? The ranch emperor here is open to many, people into the kingdom. Uh,
Oh,
anyway, back to TFT because that's why we're here.
yeah,
Cannot
Numano.
believe I revealed that, by the
No,
way.
I mean, hey, you've done it, and I can't take it back.
Exactly. Exactly. 100
Good
HP
Numano.
though.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
crazy. He loves
No,
Kindred. It seems like Kindred is a very common start for him.
definitely, Kindred is and not only just the Kindred though, but there's actually, a few common things that Numano seems to do, and it's take whatever chosen that he finds, and even if there's unoptimal items on those chosens, like, we look at Fiora and we're like, "Okay, she's not gonna hold my IE, right? Like, that doesn't seem great," but he's doing it, and it's working out. Even choosing to take out a Tahm Kench 2 right there for 2 Brawler, but putting in Shen. He's a 4-cost unit that does provide Mystic here as well, and I think is going to be a reason why this is gonna be a round win, for Numano. I say, kinda more hesitantly than I would like, but no, it
Yeah,
is
you're
like a
good.
double win for sure. Unless
Yeah.
this Lux absolutely smurfs, but Kindred actually dodged out of the way of that Lux binding, but still, the Janna shield's coming through. Numano, once again, is 100 HP at Krugs in game 3 here. It's so good. But Numano is looking like he's gonna transition into Talon though with this IE slam. So that was what he was looking for in game number 1, but did not have to full commit that route. I think it is a bit more committal right now. Could go things like an Ashe with the IE, or I don't know, let's say a Kali randomly, depending on what chosen he's able to find later. Either
Mhm.
way, though, you just have such a lead because you've preserved HP and preserved enough gold at this point to do that.
And Fiora isn't, like, the worst item holder in the world, right?
Yeah, she's
Especially
not great, but she's not bad.
yeah, I mean, she's gonna find some value, and with Riposte being, buffed so her chosen trait got changed, so she's getting more mana. So she's gonna riposte a lot more often, and that's kind of like where Fiora finds her strength is when she's got 10 HP riposte. I still think of poor Emily, by the way. Um,
Yeah.
when it comes to like that's how much it affected me. I'll never forget it. But winning those rounds just barely is kind of Fiora's MO. But anyone with these three items is going to run rampant in the early game. So Last
Yeah.
Whisper, i.e. Declaw, is going to keep that Fiora alive. You're going to want to have someone eventually have a little bit more DPS on that, as the cast time for Riposte is actually now taking damage away, as this is an auto attack based type of carry build. But it's not ever going to stay on Fiora. We're going to see him move over to Talon most likely. And I'm actually really interested to see how Numano plays a meta comp when it
Yeah.
comes to this fight night, as it's actually the one thing we haven't seen so far from him so far today.
It doesn't have to be meta comp, but it's looking like it will be. I think Declaw is actually a good slam here, especially knowing that, again, it's like a broken record, but a lot of people are going to be playing Morgana. But even knowing that there's someone going Nami in this game as well, Declaw is going to go amazing into that. The Nami base damage just on the unit itself isn't great, but it's all basically the Luden's damage, as you talked about earlier. So I very much like that play here. Even choosing to go level 6 on 3-1, which a lot of players will not go for because they're so obsessed with making econ, but Numano chose to go down to 10 gold that last round and is going to win though. So the amount of gold that he's gaining just off a win streak is going to allow him to catch up. And not only is he going to be able to catch up there, but he's still preserving the HP at this point in the game, which is so important. Going against Kjaos here, Kjaos' comp looks fine, but it still doesn't look as good as this Fiora here.
Yeah, this Fiora is absolutely destroying things. It's gonna take a little bit of a breather, right in front of Kjaos's avatar
Just
there.
a
Talk a
bit.
little trash. Yeah, talk a little trash, take a little bit of a break. Don't even need me. Fiora could have been out of the game and probably still would have won. At least that's what I imagine Fiora
Yeah.
saying. The Umbra there as Kjaos fights another loss away. And our bottom three are solidifying themselves right there as we usually don't see this kind of separation this early, but we are starting to see the top three separate a little bit quickly here as Hypnoticus and Gunmay deciding to int, and they're pretty much at like the low end of inting here. So they've probably either spent or are at around 50 or 60 gold already. On where they are now, they just have less time to use it compared to someone like
Yeah.
Numano who can make some mistakes and be fine at this point.
Definitely. Yeah, all three of the top players on a win streak here. We'll see what happens when they run into each other here, as that will be what's happening right now. Numano versus Sphinx, and Sphinx slammed a blue buff and a Sunfire cape, which is really interesting when there's the meta of Morgana, because Sunfire does a similar thing as Morello's, but Morello's is generally just seen as better at this current point. Janna shields and the Fiora, will they be enough though? Fiora is trying to make it work. Ooh,
All
a
right.
lot of riposts in here. It's oh, actually, okay. Oh no, the Thresh shield came down. It still could go either way.
I think this is Numano's. Yeah.
Yeah,
750 damage on no items. On a Kindred there. So Kindred, one of the best early game units I think that TFT has seen. I think there are definitely some better ones. Like remember last set, early Poppy, that was tankier than the mech.
yeah,
That was pretty strong. But other than that, I think this comp that Numano is doing also is something that he's doing that I don't know if y'all at home are looking at is actually positioning against Morgana as well, putting two people on the corners and spreading out in the middle. So max, just the tanks are going to get hit by the Blackpool, or the Kindred is going to ult into it. But you're gonna keep at least you're hopefully keeping one corner safe
yeah,
in this particular situation, as we are going to see some forecast units popping up. And something else that you brought up that I've started to like really take note of so far is the fact that Numana moves his units every single round.
yeah.
They're never in the same place for 2 rounds in a row, and that's got to be infuriating if you just happen to scout him while he's not moving, right?
Mhm. Yeah, no, definitely. You need to be looking at Numano at like the last second to know where his board's gonna
Hmm.
end up. But at the stage of the game where there's three people that you're gonna be able to have a possibility of facing, you're not gonna be looking out for specifically Numano. You're gonna be looking at all of them, and then still want to reposition your board to go its best versus the majority there. So it's definitely frustrating. I think is a reason why Numano is actually oftentimes towards the top of the lobby win streaking because of that play right there. Gunmay actually going some ninjas over there. They're mostly, if not all of them, are tier one at this point. So I don't think they'll be actually no Zed's tier two, but I think all the others are tier one. So not going to be victorious in this round. Hypnoticus, they did have a rather poor placement in the last game, but then had a good game number one. Gonna be looking to recreate that game one performance.
I am very, very curious to see exactly how Hypnoticus kind of continues on through these lobbies, as I do believe something got to us at the end of the last lobby. We were making a lot of half decisions,
Yeah,
and if there's something that I like personally look out for, it's that, right, where you're at the fork in the road and you can think about it for as long as you want, but like sometimes you're going to need 2 rounds to think about it. Other times you got to think really early, slam your items, or else you're a round behind, right? And tempo is so important in TFT. And that's why I was saying all the way back at the beginning today, understanding your checkpoints on where you should be in terms of your gold is so important, especially later on, whether you're going to decide to roll to 0 on 7 or try to push through. This Garen does get broken through on that GA. It's going to be an Aphelios 3 versus Lux, and that's only going to go one way, as
yeah.
Aphelios 3 is going to be the victor for Jinx, who's had a pretty quiet night, but is in the top 3 right now.
Yeah, Jinx has been playing pretty well, kind of going under the radar. I haven't been looking at him too much. Be curious to check in with Jinx perhaps after this neutral round, going into stage four. Hypnoticus though is going to. I want to watch Hypnoticus roll down first because Hypnoticus is going to be looking for the talons for more Morganas, hopefully get some rods and some other Morgana items here. But it all comes down to the roll down at the end of the day. Ooh, a
Ooh, Nico.
Nikos, that's solid, and a rod there as well. Okay, these are so good items um, for Hypnoticus here. So there's level 7.
Almost perfect.
The rolls commence. There's an Ari, which would have been a great last patch. It's always like so like, to roll past an Ari there. It could be a Dusk pivot randomly, I guess. You have a Riven 2 right now. Lux 2 is solid. There's no
Ooh.
Talons and no Morganas though on this roll down. There's an Ash 2.
Sure. Sure. You know, it's like one of those things, right? When you find yourself in this position and you're kind of just filling out your comp with stuff, right? I feel like Ash 2 is one of the better options if you just have a bunch of stuff. No other hunters, no other Elderwoods, but that's most likely going to change here in just a second. And we also have the Dazzler trait, which is going to help any team comp like
Yeah.
Hypnoticus stay a little bit longer than they potentially should because of the lack of AD.
It's nice, but not
Oh,
nice enough versus Numano. Numano is still on 100 HP on Ford 2 right now.
he's
Numano
lost like
found a Kindred Chosen and put the items onto, what was it, Aphelios there, but is still just strong enough to win rounds.
it's the other crazy thing, I know we're looking at Hypnoticus now, it's just Newman is kinda having a day, in, like, a really, really good way. It's just it doesn't feel like he has, like, a 100 HP board, honestly, right? It's how
Yeah.
he's playing it, I think. Yeah, he's really, really strong, but I honestly believe this whole moving around every round, making things as kind of like you have the control, but making it look as random as possible has been very, very interesting as the Aurelia is going to ult in the wrong direction against that Warwick. Everyone's going to be pushed back into that black pool, and Hypnotic has finally taken a win off of Esportslaw. We're going to go ahead and put some hunters in here because of that Ashe 2. Ashe is one of those I call like, this is a decision. Ash is one of those North Star
Mhm.
units, is what I like to say. Is when you're able to have those items and have the right units around, they're the ones kind of leading the way.
Yeah.
Morgana is one of those North Star units as well, and that's what I mean by that's what we mean also by kind of like that lack of intention. Is you saw like the slow movement, the thinking, and I would be
Yeah.
I'd be hard pressed not to pick up that Kindred
I
myself.
I would be thinking there too, but yeah, I do think that was the correct decision at that point, though. You rolled and you found an Ash 2. You have the World of Hunters, which I think is probably your only and best out at this point, unless you magically roll some Talons in the upcoming rounds. So I think at the end of the day, it has to be a pickup there, and it was a pickup there from Hypnoticus. So again, I do like that play. 5 Hunters, I think, is very reasonable when one Aphelios is found. Looking at Jinxed right now, though. Jinxed has a lot of hunters of his own, some moonlights as well at this point. But we're going into stage 4 carousel here. Numano has taken a couple losses, has lost the last couple of rounds here. So we lost 4-2 and 4-3. Still, however, is on top of the lobby in HP. Seigs having another what looks to be unfortunate game right now on the bottom with 26. But see what components people pick up here. Seigs got a cloak. Hopefully that's what he needed.
Hopefully, man. Not really. You know, some days we have some players here. I brought up Emily from 3 weeks ago, and like it was 3 weeks ago, and this is again how much it affected me. Just bad luck upon bad luck. It was just like one of those days, right? I bet that when she like got out of her car that morning, she stepped in a puddle
Oh,
and
no.
like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
dropped her toothbrush on the floor that morning. That was it kind of feels like that. And Siegs having a very kind of similar day, putting the shoes on the wrong feet. Sometimes it just feels like the world is
Okay.
actively working against you.
Yeah.
And right now, if I were Siegs and even Gunmay, I'd definitely be feeling a little rough for wear based on how these have gone, especially when I'm seeing a singular person be so successful across a lot of these lobbies. But Jinxed, like we said, has been a little under the radar. This is our first like really, really good look at him so far and is going to go ahead and go Hunter Moonlight. We saw the Lysandra pick off a lobby win. Now will the Aphelios do it this time if we're going to stick to this Moonlight?
I don't think so. I think that it's just going to be what's going to get him to post Raptors and it's doing a decent job at it. It's just now is the time where it's being outscaled. And I would actually think that from this position, Jinx should have a bit more money right now. I would assume maybe like 30, honestly, gold richer, but is not going to be because it looks like you run this comp because it gets you to a fast 8, and then you roll down and full like not full pivot your comp, but find what it is that you're looking for. Maybe it's a half pivot, maybe it is a full pivot, whatever you got going on there. Because you're not going to be able to find in Aphelios 3 and Silas 3 in time. You don't even really have the items to dedicate to an Aphelios 3. He's holding the other Aphelioses on the bench, I guess, just for the potential of finding an Ashe Hunter Chosen and still going 5 Hunters from that route, though. But looking at Hypnoticus here, still going to be pretty strong with the Ashe tier 2 on that side of the board.
We've got the hunter comps looking at each other right now, and it's gonna be that Ash 2. That's how much stronger. And Ash 2 can be definitely one of those units that I think you really feel that upgrade on. Because Ash 1 can take you through some early rounds, but can be pretty vulnerable as you have to keep the Ash pretty well protected. At least in the Elderwood comp, you'll see her in the corner behind a massive wall of tanks. But now it's going to be a little bit more vulnerable, but the damage is coming in a little bit faster. It seems to be kind of like the trade-off when it comes to Ash, as the
Yeah.
tanks don't seem to be appearing quite as frequently, that they don't need to necessarily be building things like Giant Slayer, as we're seeing the Last Whisper, i.e., on the Ash as well.
Yep, and it is going to be a sell onto that Moonlight Chosen Aphelios there. Going to be leveling up to level 8 and rolling down after we do see Sphinx's or Jinx's, excuse me, roll down. I would like to go to Esportslaw actually is board because that Nami composition it actually was looking a little rough earlier on because it was 6 mage instead of all enlightens. Jinxed here on the roll down finds a talent chosen, but there is not going to be talent items in this game right now. In fact, these items, oh man, that's a lot of talents. These items are looking a little grim though, just overall.
Yeah, a lot of defensive oriented items, and you got to do something with them soon, as we don't have any more items to come. So maybe gonna decide. I always feel like it's better to do units than items in terms of order of operations. As we move over to esports law, definitely going to be interesting to see where those items on Jinxed are
Oh,
going to go. As we have Elderwood Annie with Mage in the front line, and man, Gargoyles don't play Annie is so strong, but we also have our Lilia on the field. So that Lilia did get buffed. It's going to be a lot easier to get that sleep and proc that damage as well. And it's so hard to break through Annie just in general. Look at that. Through the shielding, the double shields. One of the best tanks in the game is a mage, folks.
this is interesting because I actually hesitate towards saying the route that esports law is going here seems incorrect because when Nami is the main focus of your composition here, and you have double Ludens, of course, there's not double Ludens here at this game, there's only a singular Ludens. All of the damage there is basically from the Ludens, it's not really from Mage. And you have the other mages around here, but like none of them are doing a lot of damage, right? Like Lilia
Mhm.
doesn't have damage, she just has utility. Annie's not really damaged, she's just frontline. Vigar is only a Vigar 1, no items. Like the damage just isn't there from mages. So what's actually is gonna end up being more damage output is running Enlightens and having Nami cast more and having the Ludens. Of course, unfortunately for Esports Law, didn't find the components for another Ludens, so made the mage spat, and I guess that might be why we're seeing a commit to more mages here at this point. But it's going to get outscaled faster than we usually see a Nami composition, even if she is at tier 3. Sure, it's gonna win for the half or this half of stage 5, but I don't think it'll win in the latter half of it or versus people who have hit their endgame compositions. But the last 2 fights have gone up against people who haven't really had too terribly strong of
Ooh,
comp.
Siegs. Yeah, Siegs ending up getting eliminated in 8th place once
Yeah.
again. That's a second one. That pretty much eliminates our returning champion from the top three. However, there seems to be a very common occurrence of our eliminated top 3 members top 3ing in the last lobby. It is almost like, it's almost creepy how often that it happens. It's like one of those things that you kind of bring up, "Oh, it seems like this happens," and you start paying attention to it, and you notice that it happens at least every week. Who's it gonna be? It might be Siegs going into this next lobby, but we have a lot of people trying to set themselves up because they're in biting distance of that top 3, and Esportslaw is definitely one of those people. Has just a random BF sword on this Lulu. If we find here, maybe we'll put it on there, but it seems like maybe we got a Lulu on a carousel and that had it combined automatically or something, or we just
Uh,
are having that tier 2 Lulu.
Yeah, I think it was a leftover component that I couldn't do anything with. So
Mhm.
decided to slap it on a Lulu there. Is still winning some rounds, going up against Hypnoticus there, which is still who is still level 7. So the 3 rounds actually I think were best for Esportslaw to run into. It did end up going out against all those matchups. Gunmay is actually running Ninja Assassin and has Akali 3. Esportslaw briefly scouted it out there. So I'd be curious to move on over to Gunmay and see if how that composition is able to do in this Morgana meta here with Akali 3. It did lose last round, but if it is able to take on these things like Talons, which I would think probably not, but we'll
Mhm.
find out here soon.
Yeah, Esportslaw did the number 1 rule of what you're not supposed to do on carousel, in my opinion.
It's a Ludens.
He did
Oh,
it twice. He
no.
did it twice. Do not ever circle the item you want on the carousel with your mouse. It tells the universe that someone else will take that item. It happens honestly every time, I think. It's like saying 7 at the craps table, for
Yeah.
example. Like, I really feel in terms of like carousel stereo what is that thing like when you have like these like rituals? What is that called again? Anyway, superstition is to identify the thing you need on your carousel with your mouse. You won't get it.
Yep. Did just that there and did not get it. Unfortunate. Gunmay
Uh,
is one Kennen off of Kennen 3. Haven't It's been a while since I've seen Kennen 3.
Kennen 3 is strong, but as you said, it's been a while since we've seen Kennen 3 because we never really get there. The ninjas had a little bit of time last week, but we didn't really see them. But it looks like we will be seeing a Kennen 3 if Gunmay hits on this next pack. Not even close. The Akali finishing at full health.
Yeah, close for Jinx in terms of elimination there. Jinx living with 1 HP remaining. Gunmay still needs one more Kennen. Has this shop to do it.
One more roll.
Roll to do it. Doesn't hit. Hopefully can win this round. Jinx though hits set 2. Set 2 is out of all the legendaries, I think set's still one of the better ones. Kane, we were talking about a few weeks ago being like so dominant, but we don't really see Kane at all anymore.
Yeah.
With all those nerfs coming through. And I think like Yone we see a lot of nowadays because of
Hmm.
the adept, and he's just a solid 5 cost. But still, I think Set being another one there. Hopefully, it's able to help Jinxed fight off from a certain defeat. Esportslaw versus Gunmay though here.
Oh, this could actually be a good matchup for Gunmay, as you see the Akali, unfortunately, is targeting the Annie right now. So all of the damage is going onto the tank, which means the rest
Yeah,
of the mages can come back with a vengeance. But the GA still has not been procced by the Kennen. Might actually get a second ultimate off, as now the damage is going onto the Akali. Because of the Gunblade, might actually last a little bit longer than expected. But the mages are going to come back with that vengeance. That double bubble trouble is going to take down Gunmay. That was a luck of the draw situation for Gunmay. Actually had a moderately strong comp there by the end, and Kennen 3 got a pretty big damage buff 2 patches ago, but we aren't going to see it as Gunmay will be eliminated. We're going to go over to Sphinx, who has something I've never seen before, which is double ZZ Rot on Thresh, 10 HP for Sphinx, 5 for
yeah.
Hypnoticus, 1 for Jinx. We might see 3 people get eliminated on this next round after this Nexus minion.
So a lot of people actually do like ZZ Rot on Thresh, but putting him more towards the back line because what that's going to do is when assassins like Talon or like the Akali that we saw a gun may have, when they jump onto the back line, the Thresh will catch those units and they'll focus the Thresh first, which then pops up the ZZ Rots to give more time for the backliners to be safe and do what they want to do. Of course, Sphinx does have the Thresh in the front line here, but it will still serve a kind of similar purpose. when it comes to assassins jumping over it, it will kind of the Z rod has a taunt effect now at the beginning of combat, so units will then be taunted by that and be forced to attack there. Sphinx is looking for Rivens and it only finds one. Is on the cusp of top fouring, Jinxed at 1 HP, Hypnoticus at 5 HP, going up against Kjaos here. And this is looking like overall actually a pretty low roll lobby.
Yeah.
I feel like at least 6 players here have been kind of low roll. That's why I'm looking at Esportslaw and he's still on a win streak. And I'm like, I don't expect that to be the case, especially with only 1 Ludens, with going mages over Enlightens. But this lobby is kind of just, it's one of those lobbies.
It
Everyone
happens.
is not as strong as you'd expect. And it does happen right now. Like even a Deathblade Runeads GA Warwick, which you don't see often, is going to take out Jinx there.
Snuck into the top 4. Oh man, you can call me the Sage, friends, as 3 people did get eliminated in that round. Sphinx getting the tiebreaker there in that top 4. That's actually really good news for Sphinx. And so we've got Kjaos once again, Numano, no surprise there. And we've got Esportslaw in first place with those mages. And like you said, it's a low roll lobby. Let's talk about that. I think a little bit more detailed because, some
Yeah.
lobbies will, in terms of power level, like that last lobby with like the 2 tier 2 Yones and stuff
Yeah.
like that, these comps were at max power at this point in time. We're still getting there for everyone in the lobby still.
Definitely. I think does Esportslaw have 9 mage right now? I'm not sure offhand. It's either 8 or 9 mage. Um, but either way, though, okay, actually only has 7. Or games confirmation there, but has the potential, I think, to go 9 mage in the future. Maybe it needs another spat for it as well, because can't quite fit everything in, even if the Ari would go in right now.
Mhm.
It's gonna be a close matchup here versus this Warwick. Warwick's gonna revive and almost take
Oh,
out the Nami.
oh,
Almost take out the Nami, but
oh.
Numano and Kjaos fall that round. Esportslaw still making it happen here.
TFT is kind of like bowling sometimes, where you feel like the body motions and vocalities that you do will help,
Yeah.
right? Like you like lean to the left on like a Lux binding or something, like trying to help it go. And unfortunately, at that time, could have been a little bit better for that Warwick. If that Warwick had a Bloodthirster, probably wins that round actually.
Yeah.
Um, but goes ahead and goes with the upgraded rune-ins, so it's going to apply all those on hit effects really well. But man, this
Oh,
team is going to
August
get
Mono, though.
rocked by the crowd.
Yeah, Numano's gonna get a good shroud off there, but has 4 Dazzler as well. This is the scenario where I was talking about Dazzler is actually a viable option. When you go to level 8, you can fit the Ezreal in as well as have a chosen Dazzler, which is what Numano has right there. So the Warwick is
Wow.
actually not doing like anything with these auto attacks. And you see
Holy mackerel.
that fight was because of 4 Dazzler. 4 Dazzler buff is actually nuts in scenarios like that. I'm glad that we got to see that in action there.
Holy. That was crazy. Like you like it really, I mean, Warwick was trying. You you know what I mean? It was like an A for effort
Yeah,
situation there.
there's only so much try you can do against 80% attack damage reduction against a
Oh.
Warwick who doesn't have any magic damage. All he can do
Mhm.
is auto attack damage. That's his whole kit.
Mhm. Well, and then the other thing that's actually really interesting when it comes to Numano's comp too is the compensation with the Janna, just in case they get dazzlered. And so Janna's going to provide a little bit more damage in that way, provide a little bit more time as well. Because all of a sudden, if everyone is doing 80% less auto attacking damage, your shields become way more valuable. They're going to be around much longer. And so
Yeah.
you're potentially going to get more ultimates. And so I think the best way to think about the Dazzler trade, if you're having a little bit of a hard time finding context for it, is to think about it as like a little bit of a snowball effect, right? It starts small maybe at first, but the longer the Dazzler trait stays on a lot of these units, the more value you're going to find out of it.
Well, the talent
Oof.
actually jumped out of that bubble there from the Nami. Or yeah, wait, that was actually so interesting. And is gonna turn back to the Nami, try to take it out, but won't be able to do so.
The saving grace from Esportslaw, though, is the Zillion that you're seeing. The Black Pool, though, isn't really doing a ton of damage, but is taking damage away. Look at how, I mean, it's pretty much everyone getting hit. Everyone feels like they're throwing cotton balls right now at at these units. But this time around, it's going to be
Oh,
Esportslaw taking down at Numano. That Zillion definitely helping out Numano with 1 HP. Esportslaw on the brink of their first ever lobby win here, I believe, in Fight Night Rising. Talking that confidence coming in and showing it, right? Walking the walk here too.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, Esportslaw, there's so many more improvements that could be made to this composition. You have 30 gold left, you're level 9, rolling for things like another Mystic to add 4 Mystic here is gonna do wonders against the Morgana. Lilia upgrade, even going for Cassiopeia 3. I was like, "Oh, okay, Cassiopeia 2, nice," but no, that's 6 Cassiopeias right there. 1 Janna away from Janna 3, has 67 HP to work with and might not even need anywhere near that. The Nami is gonna go down rather quickly though, and Talon is still alive. Oh, gets taken out though.
The talent does get taken out. The Nami, though, was sniped by the Shroud, which I actually think is the
Yep.
reason why they were able to take it down so quickly. Nice black pool from that Morgana, and that Dazzler trait coming in clutch once again. I mean, even against the mages in the room, it still is definitely mattering in terms of that. It's a game of inches when it comes to the last two, and it could not be more true against these last two. As Numano finishes in second still, it can tie the record. As Esportslaw, though, is going to be the victor for lobby at 3. Numano only extending that lead, but second and third still anyone's game. Once we get those scores, we'll get you. But everyone below first is in a crowded field right now.
Yeah, definitely. That game was so weird actually,
It was
because
odd.
there was only like 1.5 strong players, I think, when it comes to, like you think of level 7, level 8 power spikes, and you're like, "Okay, the lobby's gonna be strong now, they're gonna hit, and it's gonna be insane," but no one really hit that great of
Mhm.
comps. Even if they did hit, their items were subpar, like, going back to Gunmay, who was, what, in 7th place that game? Yeah, was eliminated in 7th place that game, had a Kali 3, but didn't have the IE, didn't have perfect items there, and so wasn't able to make it work. Numano though, the king of consistency right now is going to put another 8 points on the board to move the lead even further. Now it's a 7-point lead between Numano and Kjaos. Numano at 26. Kjaos and Esportslaw tied for second at 19 points here. Sphinx, Jinx, Gunmay, Hypnoticus still within striking distance. Siegs unfortunately is not though at this point.
So Siegs is going to be the one that we're going to be looking to play spoiler. Everyone else could still technically make it into that top 3. And Numano still can tie the record for Fight Night Rising points, but could
Yeah.
also beat Sphinx in terms of biggest margin of victory, which was 11 points about 4 weeks
Oh man,
ago. And
that's a large
so
margin.
yeah, and Numano could do it. Actually, if like Kjaos and Esportslaw finish 7th and 8th, it probably happens. So definitely look at it. That so 2 records might be approached today, which is actually pretty insane.
Yeah,
But you got to give it up to Kjaos and Esportslaw coming in as well. Newer for this week, getting into that top 3. But if I'm gonna be worried about anybody taking me out of the top 3, it is both Sphinx and Jinxed. In
yeah.
terms of experience, in terms of level of play, those two are going to be able to make up that point differential more so than a lot of other people in this lobby.
Yeah, in terms of points, well, the points as they have right now as well, they are within striking distance. They are very, very good players, so wouldn't put it past them to make something like that happen at all. Starting off with Kjaos here, who is one of those players tied for second place right now. Starting off with a belt, which is not really what you wanna have
I
happen. I mean,
I
it's not
believe.
terrible,
Oh, Khroen, last
not
week.
great.
Last week you go, the only thing I don't want on the first carousel is a belt. So it's a different week. It's a different week, but
It is a different
all
week.
items can find value, I think, in the early game, right? He picks up a bow, he's easy rod. I think we're okay.
Yep.
But at the same time, do you really want a bow just to make another item better? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like the give and take there. And the other thing that is, I think, always worth talking about in the fourth lobbies are very different than the rest of our lobbies. People are setting themselves up for the win. So if you're Esportslaw, for example, you're not going to try to play a top 4 comp. Right, you need to take a top 2 to really solidify your top 3 here. So this might be the time you start being very intentional about your decisions, but also take less risks at the same time. I believe play what you know you're best at in this lobby and set yourself up for success.
Yep.
That would be my biggest piece of advice going into a championship lobby like this one. What about you, Crowan? As you've been a part of kind of championship lobbies before?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to my just specific playstyle in general, like to just be consistent. The only time that I've really ever remember myself like changing up my playstyle very drastically is going up against Gunmay in Giant Slayer Series Season 2 finals. I was in second place. Gunmay was like a few points ahead of me, but there was no way that I dropped from second to third. The only like change of placement there is if I got first and beat Gunmay. So I played a very first race style there. But it's a bit different for these players here. I'd probably still just lean towards playing consistent, playing for
Mhm.
like a third or something, play for that top three, and try to just solidify your top three overall finish that way. I think that's going to be pretty solid there.
Cool. Something that seems to be a little less solid is we've been seeing sharpshooters. They definitely seem to be brought back a little bit. But with that Dazzler trait too, it's like sharpshooters got nerfed, except for six sharpshooters got buffed. Um,
6 got nerfed.
nerfed. Okay,
4
so
2
any of
got
that.
buffed, 4 is the same, and 6 got nerfed.
Okay, so because of that, the early game sharpshooter still pretty good, but
Yeah.
we're seeing less and less of it in the later game. Jin's still a pretty strong unit in general with good items, can still one shot some people. But carries like Jinx have been a little bit more rare today. We've seen the attempt, but much less successful than in the past.
Yeah, I saw Dusk Jinx that was like, okay, but then it ended up getting sold for a Yone, later on in the game, Dusk Yone, which didn't still yield,
The
that
Fiora
great of
special.
results either. Yeah, Fiora special. If there's something about Fioras and having them hold items, and it's doing pretty well here.
Mhm.
Kjaos does roll a Chosen finally, it is 2-2, you're guaranteed to roll a Chosen at this point, and it is a Tahm Kench brawler, which is not great. If it was a Fortune, maybe like, "Alright, yeah, screw it, I'll take it, I'll loss streak, I'll cash out eventually," but not going to be the case there, and, actually, I was gonna say I wanna take a look at Numano's, board here, so thank you, production, for already being on top, reading my mind, because I wanna see how Numano constantly does this, constantly gets all these, 100 HP, leads into not only Krugs, but even, like, Wolves sometimes, and I guess it's like this. I guess it's by rolling a chosen Shade Z or things of the like here, rolling some good early chosen,
Mhm.
having a good early item to slam with that chalice, and can be winning this round. Has cultist, has two shade. Like this is a strong start. Numano doesn't really care about making econ early, just cares about preserving that win streak and preserving that HP.
Mhm. If he does end up winning the lobby, which the percentages say that he most likely would, I definitely want to ask him about just like his early game process, right? If he's
Yeah,
willing to like share that information with us, because it seems to be consistent, but like the way that he's playing, but the units are all different every time. We get the early game shade here, and most people pick up that shade. I think 9 out of 10 times you do, especially at this point in the game. But it was Kindred last game, and it was Janna the game before, and it was Fiora with items in the past. So is capable of doing this with almost every single early game comp, which to me is the more impressive thing than say if he did this 3 times in a row with the same comp.
yep. Oh, definitely. It's being able to play flexible, and that's at the end of the day, that's what's going to separate, good TFT players from great TFT players, the ones that are gonna be able to consistently be so flexible and dynamic. And this round's gonna be a little close. I think the Zed does have a good shot at still winning, though it is a Zed 2. And if that Zed wasn't a thing, Numano would have lost this round. But
Hmm.
fortunately, Numano puts himself in scenarios that maintain 100 HP because of things like that.
All I believe all four first carousels Numano has been at 100
Yep.
HP.
Mhm.
That's those are
Even
words I don't think that
heroic.
have come out of my mouth in that order
No,
before.
this is a record. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that is a record there. Numano having 100 HP, all 4 games, all 4 carousels, even surpassing up until after Krugs as well, being 100
Hmm.
HP. Like, that's
Two
actually unheard of.
two 10-game win streaks today.
Yeah.
2, not just 1. I'm lucky to have 1 in a day, right? Like, because, 10-game win streaks aren't necessary to win, right? Like, you can lose 8 games in a row and win a lobby, right? But, to have this kind of consistency, it's honestly a little mind-blowing to me, because, again, lots of movement, so much intention, is so good at identifying best board, and also with a little bit of luck. Some people are just, I think, graced with that kind of advantage life, which is just some people are lucky, and sometimes they find themselves like Pavel in Hearthstone, right?
Yeah.
Or like Paveling Book from years
Like,
ago.
yeah.
Um,
Wild
by the
ago.
way, one of the greatest things I ever saw live in my
That
life.
was that was
I was in the
really
front row there. Anyway, wrong game, but here, like same kind of thing can maybe happen. Like sometimes the Mort gods just look down on you and say, "You will get Shade Zed 3 games in a row, like Sphinx did 3 weeks ago, right?
yeah,
So
true.
today it seems to be Numano's day, and with this, I mean, this is one of the stronger early game comps you could have right now with the full cultist, with the chosen shade. But this is going to be a very pivoty type of situation for him, especially with shades being not as popular recently. So we might not see any of these units in about 10 turns, but that's going to really show Numano's kind of drive here, because it seems like we are committing to the shades, at least right now, with that
Yeah.
Evelyn on board.
Because so Namato has a couple of choices here. Namato can say, I'm probably going to win with Pike in as well, and going to want to greed to get more econ. But we know the Numano playstyle. It's not I want to greed gold. It's I want to make sure I am the strongest that I could possibly be when it comes to board strength. So putting the Evelyn in, getting the 3 shade buff right now is just going to make it all the more likely this is going to be a round win. And it looks like it will be against Jinxed here as well. So it even goes on to all 4 games being 100 HP on to up until the Krug round, unless Fiora's able to pull off a miracle here, but it's not looking likely.
No, they're gonna be able to get through that GA.
Actually,
More post
no, no,
though.
no.
That new chosen mechanic, making things interesting. That's good. You have this expectation, and all of a sudden you're like, but wait, there's more.
Yeah,
Right? And Fiora is like, but wait, there's more, is the character of the game so far. Especially at the early game. It's just riposte always happens at the worst time. Either like you need to keep doing DPS or you're gonna win on
yeah,
the other side. It just doesn't really work for everybody. And that's why I love watching it, because it
yeah,
provides a lot of really hype moments in the early game.
definitely.
As Numano, once again, like you said, 100 HP. This time, at least, Hypnoticus is close. Sphinx at 76. All 4 lobbies, actually, at this point in time, I
Yeah,
believe Sphinx was in the bottom 2. So a lot of consistency amongst our players in the early game, definitely changing as we hit rounds 4 and 5 as we get to level 7.
definitely. Another opportunity to slam a second chalice for Numano here. But going back to the point actually that you touched upon with Fiora, the chosen mechanic change there was she went from having bonus health to max mana reduction for the little bonus of having her
Mhm.
as chosen. So able to hit those riposts more frequently as well in the early game makes her that much more annoying. Numano looking like Numano's going to go to level 6 here again at 3-1 to preserve that win streak. Looking at Esportslaw, though, probably won't be able to do the same thing. Will, however, look to go level 6 probably next turn and play Force Spirit, which we don't usually see, especially at this point in the game.
Reminds me of one of the best movies of all time, Spirited Away.
Oh, yeah,
By the way, especially with kind of like this aesthetic. Um,
true.
Crazy to me. I'm not
Yeah.
sure that's a kid's movie, to be completely honest with you. Really, none of
Yeah,
his.
like, yeah, you can make an argument for it being
I think Mononoke and Grave of the Fireflies are the
okay,
2 most
yeah,
adult.
yeah.
But I think you could anyway, as we're looking at Spirited Away right now on the field, seeing the Ari coming in. I mean, Jewel Gauntlet Ari is always going to be good. It's just going to be doing less damage now, and is it going to have that satisfying kind of like? I'm sorry for this image, everybody, but it's the one that came to my mind, like like a big pimple pop, right? It's just like pop. Everyone's gone. Um, Half of you were like, "Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about."
Oh,
Half of you are cringing super hard right now, and that's fine.
yeah. You've chosen a very controversial hill to die on here, Boop, and
It tracks.
I'm true, actually very you. That is very you there. Yeah,
But it's nice to see Timo getting some love here, at least a little bit, with those items. I mean, Timo can be incredibly annoying, especially with the quick cast on the spirit, with the blind as well. So when everyone's kind of like congregating around Timo and he gets that blind off, it's kind of like old school Graves where you're like doing stuff, but nothing's happening. But one thing that I'm actually really keen to see more of is I love how Lux kind of finds herself never as a carry, but a nice like linchpin to a lot of these compositions.
yeah,
you might build like some extra items on her, but in the end, I think she's just such a good kind of like combination type of unit. I don't know what to call that exactly, kind of, but a unit that is good and balanced, is strong. The traits that they're in seem to be all right now, and can kind of find a way in most situations to be
Yeah.
useful.
No, I agree. I like Lux as a unit a lot. I've said it before. I'm sure you remember. I think Lux is a really, really, really good unit. Even better now that Morgana is more prevalent and that Talon comp, that Talon Morg comp is back because she fits in so perfectly there to give two Divine, to give Dazzler there, and provide some much needed CC that the comp lacks as well. You can throw her into anything really that wants to run Dazzler. Even those compositions like Elderwood, Ashe, if you have an Ezreal late game, you can give your Warwick Divine and you can have Dazzler with the Ezreal as well. So she fits herself into situations like very seamlessly almost, I guess I
Just
will
like
say.
me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not. I've had a lot of coffee, so the confidence is like rolling right now. Anyway, as Esportslaw is going to be the one that we see, we always get a little silly on fourth lobbies too.
Yeah.
As you know, everyone is getting a little bit fatigued. Everyone's been playing, and for a while, a lot of these players have been playing all day, and this is kind of like the culmination of their day. So it's been really cool so far to see Numano still at 100 HP. Will he be able to do
Doing it
3 in
again.
a row at 100 HP at Wolves? I don't think I've ever seen myself be 100 HP at Wolves 3 times this set. So that would be absolutely insane to me and really impressive to everybody else. But it seems like another lobby that seems to be a little bit on the low roll side, power level wise right now.
Yeah, looking at Sphinx there, Sphinx is going for Diana 3, only has one completed Diana item, is 3 Dianas away, I believe, and was like 6 Lissandras away. Maybe I'm wrong about the exact numbers there, but it looked to be not great at that point in time. I think I want to see Esportslaw play for Spirit here some way possible. Ooh, do that. Okay, I guess this works out too. You have a bit of extra damage right now with the Ashe and the Kindred. The
Oh,
Teemo doesn't seem to be doing enough damage. Siegs here does have a Wukong as a talent item holder, I think. Actually, it's interesting because going back to the Mort Dog 4v4 Madness tournament that
mhm.
happened like earlier this month or towards the beginning of this month. One of my teammates that I had that tournament, Tabs, actually loved playing the talent composition and loved using Wukong as the item holder there, saying it was one of the best ones in the game. Because we were all familiar with the early set 4 days of Bonky Kong and the amount that he can do with IE and stuff. But it turns out you can just play it in the early game, and then once you find talent, pivot into that. It's a seamless transition. It helps you save the HP as well as being able to build the IEs and stuff early game, as well as having an item holder for it. Moving on over to Hypnoticus here, we're going to see another attempt at a Ninja Assassin composition. It went 7th place in the last game, but you have an RFC, have a blue buff, no IE components yet, but still a long time to get those. And Hypnoticus is at 82 HP right now. And for this board, it probably just pivoted into it, but this board it probably looks weaker than what they had previously. Honestly.
That's why I was saying that it's looking a
Yeah.
little low rolly right now, as when you see one cost units dominate, yeah, the ninjas are gonna have that extra little beef against it, and Jinxed is particularly on the weaker side right now.
Yeah.
Um, but like
Oof.
Numano, I know if we had like a word cloud today, his name would probably be the biggest word, but I think it's worth it and valuable because this is the 3rd game in a row he has been on a 10-game win streak, I believe, at Wolves.
Yep.
To not have lost for 3 lobbies in a row at Wolves is absolutely insane, but also, I don't know if you noticed this, but he was the only one at level 7 last round. So he leveled up to 7 2 rounds ago.
Yep.
And
After the
so
stage 3 carousel, yeah, is when people
yep.
do it aggressively, and Numana choosing to do that. Probably lost out on a lot of gold for it, but keeping the win streak, you earn that gold back, and yeah, I mean, go on. I know you're about to say that
Yeah,
similar
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah, no, I love it. It's just
I'm
like
excited.
it's cool to see you get excited about it too, because you know, as casters and, you know, we're going into our 4th lobby, it's just so cool to see this kind of consistency because anybody, you know, honestly can pick off an upset. That's why March Madness is so fun, right? Like, you got the Florida Gulf Coast, you've got the Davidsons, you've got the Butlers, right, that you're going to root for. But eventually, you're going to have to be consistent. And that's kind of like, I'm sorry for those of you who don't follow college basketball, but teams like Butler and Creighton are now standards in the NCAA community. And so Numano kind of in the same situation right now, came in really hot as the new person, but has obviously shown the capability to be here and be a part of this community and also be one of the best as well. It wasn't a fluke. This guy is just really, really good at identifying power levels of not only himself but the rest of the lobby, and I think that's where a lot of that separation is, knowing exactly where you are versus everyone else rather than just the people close by to you on the leaderboard.
Yeah. That was such a close round between the ninja assassins and Gunmay with the 6 mage there. And Gunmay actually found this TF mage chosen very early on into the game and tier 3'd it and basically didn't even lose any econ for it. Tier 3'd it and still leveled up with along with the rest of the lobby there. So Gunmay choosing to bring that to the end stages of the game. You're at 78 HP on 4-2 right now, so it's looking like the potentials of a top 4 there. It's probably not gonna be able to win the lobby unless Game's win streaking, so hard that he can just go fast 9 and transition
Mhm.
into legendaries at that point. Either way, though, it's still going to be solid for at least a top 4.
And we are going Ninja Assassin. We're committed to our keeper here. And hopefully he keeps himself in Fight Night Rising so his shirt gets to ring true
True.
going to the end of tonight. And he definitely is in striking distance. So
Yeah,
it's definitely a possibility. Going ninjas is
it's risky.
whew, it is a risk, but I respect it. I might not have made that decision, but he did, and now I get to watch it, and now I get to see and live vicariously through him to see if it's going to work. Because I've always been a fan of watching ninja comps, especially since set one. Now that they're back, we haven't really seen a ton of it, but seeing Akali back, seeing Kennen back, weirdly Kennen not the kind of carry that he was in set one. People still deciding whether to position him in the front
Yeah.
line, in the middle, or even in the back line for a delayed ultimate. I think there's still study to do with those ninja units, but it's good to see them here. Good to see them competing, but he does need to find a tier 2 Z at some point
Yeah,
in
not
order
huge.
to maintain.
It's not huge. I guess the Zed, because he's not an assassin, he's not one of the key units to that composition, but yeah, it does eventually need to find it. Back to the Kennen point, though, thinking back to set one, the board is larger now. The board is 4 rows, and back in set one, the board was only 3. So Kennen would have a lot more value just because there was a lot less places, a lot less board space for the units to hide in. So Kennen's just overall a worse unit now because of that. Siegs with that Talon actually absolutely destroyed that whole fight there. Perfect item Talon, or arguably perfect item Talon from Siegs there. And an Akali chosen assassin that would be, because it can't be ninja chosen. Something that Hypnoticus would love to see, but has not found yet.
That's the worst when you see your neighbor and they have like a nicer car, a nicer garage. Their door is a little nicer. Their house is like 100 more like inches bigger. It's the corner house, right? They have a nicer
Yeah.
mailbox, and that's kind of like what it feels like sometimes when you see the Talon. Even when you're running Talon, say with 2 of those 3 items, when you see the Bloodthirster on it, you're like, oh, okay. I'm a little jealous. That's okay.
Yeah. No,
Um,
definitely.
as Hypnoticus sitting at 66 HP. The lobby has definitely evened up a little bit at the top side, but the bottom end is very dangerously on the way out. Sphinx, if finishing in 8th place, will be eliminated from Fight Night after a 5 week run.
Oh man. I mean, Sphinx choosing to play a very risky playstyle here. I'm actually curious to check back in with Sphinx and see how that's going. I think Sphinx did hit, okay, yes, did hit Lysandra 3 and Diana 3, but as of right now, it's RNG which unit gets upgraded. And I don't think you want it to be RNG if you're Sphinx. I think you want the Diana to always be upgraded here. Um, so that's a little awkward, actually, very awkward. It's going to get 2 more item components from the Raptors. Hopefully, we'll get another item to slam there. But let's see what it gets upgraded here. Where's some Nauticus here? Good Shroud,
Okay.
though. Okay, it is the Diana.
Really good shroud, as you said, but that Diana is beefy in the back line. The cannon's going to go down so early, and I think one of the better mid-game units that never gets talked about is that Yumi can definitely be
Oh
the
yeah.
difference between winning and losing a round, especially if you've got a little bit of a spirit buff, but mostly you can splash that Mystic in, along with some healing, more attack opportunities as well. So it's cool to see the Yumi kind of splash their way in. It's that Yumi 2 kind of just chilling out right now. Got that 2 Mystic, especially with that Shen in the front line as well. So we're at 4 wins in a row, which is actually pretty crazy to think that we were at 31 HP before this.
Yeah.
So it was a rough go of it. But now that we've got our chosen Moonlight at 3, if it hits Diana, it should be fine. If it hits Lissandra, then it might not be.
Yeah, it's a little risky at that point if it hits Lissandra, not Diana. I would want to see, just for science, for our sake, as not for Sphinx's, the Lissandra get hit there, and it doesn't. Actually, good RNG twice in a row with the Diana, receiving that 4-star buff there, going up against a. This reminds me of like the war week that we had, the Divine Warwick, the Static Shiv, QSS. It is going to not be quite as strong as that week though, and it is going to fall in this round. The Diana usually is the last unit alive in this
Mhm.
composition, usually the only unit alive at that point as well. So this comp, when it spikes, is not going to be dominating the rest of the lobby and giving them like huge losses, but it will just kind of hang on and let all the other people do work there. It is a
Mhm.
close lobby when it comes to HP. Honestly, we don't have a huge outlier. New Maya was at 100 for a while, but has taken some losses now. Has used that HP as a resource to go whatever transitions that he was looking for. Gunmay with that 6 mage though, that TF3 is still in the lead right now. Kjaos on the bottom with 20 HP though.
Let's see what items we're gonna get here. We do have that spatula. That's always kind of the wild card. Ooh, okay. That could be better. Um, so we've got a sword of the divine. That's not really gonna help.
No,
Nothing's really gonna
no.
help here. We might put GA on Talon. Um,
I think it's gonna be. It has to be something on the Diana because you don't want the Lissandra to get the buff
yeah.
from Moonlight. So like this is kind of awkward having a GA here. In fact, it's like pretty bad actually, but you gotta do what you gotta do, and you have a dead spot. Warlord doesn't really do anything. You only have 2, Katarina being the other one. You don't have 3.
Mhm.
You have Morgana in for Dazzler, which I like though. You have Yumi in for Mystic, but this comp will
Ooh.
fall off.
And so will the one across the field, actually. But this Esportslaw comp is probably peaking in power at around right now, I would say. And with this Rage Blade, should be able to get another ult off. I've always thought that if an Ari ults at least twice, they probably win that round. But they've got to get the damage onto the
Yeah.
Diana, as my science seems to be incorrect. As oh my goodness, we got to get Lissandra playing some baseball, my friends. That was an ace right into that Ari's face, and takes the carry down. And Sphinx is going to
Yeah.
continue going. What a great turnaround for him.
Definitely. I still think exactly what you said is accurate. Usually, if Ara gets 2 ults off, it's gonna be around 1 unless both ults are like completely whiffs, or if there is a Diana on the other side of the board there, which there was, and it's going to be so tanky there. We see Numano running Dusk here, finds a Mystic Chosen, and has 3 chalices. It's going to be. It's not triple. Okay, it is triple chalice on that, Cassiopeia. You don't need the mana, but still going down.
That automatic ult did a lot of damage, but then decided to take her attention away from that Lissandra. At least we've got the Lissandra in the back line. That is one of the carries down. It's going to be up to taking down this Diana, which will not be happening as the GA still has not been procced. Moonlight really showing up today, specifically from Numana, who seems to have or from Sphinx right now, who seems to have turned this around on a comp that we haven't really seen him play over the last 5 weeks.
Yeah, Diana 4 is a comp that, like, yeah, if you hit it, it can be great. It can work out pretty well, and we're seeing it here for Sphinx. Sphinx has dropped very low though, so when it does fall off later on into the game, I actually don't know if Sphinx will top 4 this game or not. This game is so close, and it's at the point when people actually reach all their power spikes. looking at the
Mhm.
lobby from just basing on Numano's scouting here, it seems to be a little bit of a low raw lobby once again, but not as much as the other game though. This Cassiopeia will do a lot of damage here.
Oh, but everyone jumped
Yeah,
away instead. Very, very lucky from Hypnoticus. But the cast does get a second ultimate off. A lot of damage from that Dusk. I won a game recently with a carry cast. Almost got that cast 3. So it's a good like alternative build if you find yourself in this situation. And if you're anyone that is not new mono, you might have a little bit of a harder time here. But the king of flexibility so far in today's lobby, finding himself on a top, solidifying again another lead. As at one point Gunmay was ahead, but is now a couple fights ahead of the rest of the lobby as Kjaos is eliminated.
that was such an unfortunate elimination there for Chaos. You hate to see your set get taken down by Lulu's auto attacks. That's what feels bad there to end things off for Chaos's night there in 8th place. But as you were talking about before, Gunmay did have a really strong lead. Of course, it was pretty similar HP to Numano, but now is towards the middle of the pack with everybody else right now. The 6 mage, the
Yeah.
TF carry is falling off, and this is a stage of the game where I would expect that to happen. What can Gunmay do to improve the rest of his composition? I don't think it's going to be able to be much. Okay, Lulu 3 and is one off of Nami 3, I guess. 3 away from. Okay, so I guess Gunmay is instead of going for the level up route, is opting for the I need 3 stars route, and 3 stars will be good enough for me. Needs to keep on rolling to make that happen though.
All right. So it's actually pretty crazy how awesome these moonlights have done. That's been a little bit of the surprise today. And actually, not a
Mhm.
ton of like Morgana making me go, "Ugh." You know what I mean? Like it was definitely strong, but it seems
Yeah.
like certain players have been able to deal with it better than others. Maybe certain players admitting defeat before getting there, but Numano specifically, Sphinx actually doing a pretty good job going up against it a couple times. And it seems like Moonlight seems to be a viable option to counter these Enlightens along with some of these mages as well, as this TF3 is going to get popped by that Ari, one level behind as well. And you're already seeing that power level drop a little bit from Gunmay as Sphinx also loses out. And this lobby is so close. Anybody can finish second to seventh at this point.
I'm trying to think in my mind, like why we come into weeks like, okay, I expected to see a lot of this comp, and we do see some of it. We don't see as much as I would expect, and I actually think it might be because of it being a different environment, like a tournament environment, not solo queue, right? So you're
Hmm.
going to be less willing to go things that are just like contesting the whole lobby. You want to make sure you're playing for yourself here. It's not a
Great
solo
point.
queue game where it's like, okay, if I hit, I gain my LP, right? It's going to be okay. I need to be consistent in 4 games in a row. I can't just be like, okay, I can test every game, and sometimes I hit, sometimes I low roll, because you're not going to get top 3 with that kind of, or you could, but you might not get top 3 with that kind of play style. You want to just play whatever you hit and play flexible. And that's what new mono has been showing us that he's able to do very well. And part of the reason why I think new mono is I mean, I think probably going to win tonight here.
He might
I'll
tie
be
the
so
record for
bold.
real.
Yeah, I'll be so bold as to say that Numano will win tonight, and barring any like absolute huge upsets at this point in the game.
That's a very confident pick. It would be hard pressed to bet
Yeah.
against you at this point. And one thing that's actually really, really, really awesome in terms of just esports right now is how close everyone is right now on the bottom side, especially with how close everyone is in the standing. So we're at a situation where one round is going to mean the difference between someone like Sphinx or Jinxed, an Esportslaw, making it into the top 3 or not. That's
Yeah.
it, just 1 or 2 rounds at this point. The damage from PvP rounds is going to be way more. I mean, Jinx has 1 round, Hypnoticus has 1 round, Gunmay has 1 round, Sphinx maybe has 2. But depending on how badly they lose, and on Moonlight, you tend, if you lose, to lose pretty badly. It could definitely happen. So we might get upwards of even 4 eliminations. I think that's mathematically impossible. 3 eliminations here,
Yeah.
depending on how poorly people do. As Gunmay's comp, this is exactly where it starts to fall off. Even with that Nami, we have a tier 1 unit chosen. We've got that Nami at tier 3. Got a lot of tier 3 units, but these are all units that do tend to fall off a little little bit later. And there's no solid like DPS dealer here a la an Ashe. It's all going to be burst damage with that Ari and that TF.
These items for Gunmay are so awkward, actually. Apart from the TF, there's like not optimal items anywhere. That might be why if Gunmay falls, the Ari ult is not great. It doesn't hit the Ashe, and the Ashe is going to be able to tear the rest of this composition up. The set comes back, but don't even need him to participate. Gunmay will fall. I don't think in 7th, though. I think we saw another elimination there, and yes, it was Hypnoticus in 7th, and Gunmay going to be in 6th here.
The return of Gunmay coming out of retirement, not as special as a lot of us, I think, wanted it to be, but hopefully that's not it for Gunmay. Love watching that guy play, as we're going to get a chosen Ari now for Esportslaw. This is where it gets a little awkward, though, because now we have 3
Hmm.
spirits. So this Yuumi now isn't as necessary as it was before, because we also have the double mystic, the triple mystic. So we actually have a little bit of flexibility after this round if we want to put in a 5-cost unit. But we could definitely be maximizing our stats just a little bit better, but we'll see if it matters. And that extra spirit is actually going to be the difference because of that attack speed, as Yone has an awful ult, but at least one of them is on the Talon. The Ari also hits the Talon, but there's a lot of green bodies on the field right now. This Ari's going to ult one more time, does one-shot the back line, but there's still the one man, the myth, the legend himself, Talon, doing his parkour, showing us that he's ready for the Olympics in Tokyo when they finally do come. He's going to do trampoline. He's going to do gymnastics. He's going to do whatever it takes to win that gold. And right now, Talon showing up right here, as well as Jinxed will fall, running some Dazzlers. Sphinx somehow finishes in the top 4 once again. If he finishes in 3rd, I believe that is enough to put him in the top 3.
Ooh, that'd be nuts. And yeah, now definitely confirmed Numano does win for Fight Night here tonight. Cannot mathematically place low enough to be overtaken there. So congratulations to Numano once again. Siegs' composition, though, going back to that for just a moment, is what I would expect a lot of comps tonight to look like. Siegs is kind of like the I hit the Morgana talent comp, and I'm really, really strong because of it. I'm going to be seeing that once again later on to wrap things up. But for now, Esportslaw versus Sphinx. Good night, Moon.
Yeah, good night, Moon. Good night, Moon. Really, gonna go to bed
Yeah,
right now. Sphinx, I
it's a
believe,
little
is gonna
tired.
miss out by 1 point. We might be tied with
Oh,
Jinxed.
actually, the Diana, there's a world.
Okay. Okay, Diana, I see you. We're seeing you. I
There's a
I
world.
I see you. I value you, and you're gonna
Okay.
win. I wrote you off a little bit too late. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Diana. Those gods on Targon must be looking down at me so disappointed right now. But another really good job done by Sphinx, as we got 2 double digits. So 2 people might get eliminated on the next round. Definitely one, as 21 HP at this point, depending on how someone loses, might not be enough, as the player damage is getting up there.
Yeah, theoretically, we could see everyone fall, but for Sigs to fall, it would have to be about like every unit. Maybe not even at that point. But Esportslaw did survive just barely on 2 HP right now, has a Bramble for the Shen. Might go up against Numana right now, so scouting that matchup a bit more than others. Will the reposition happen though? Looks like it's going to the left-hand side, but then back to the right-hand side. Is it enough though?
Deciding that that's where your gut is telling you to go. We're putting the Ari on the right-hand side. We are going to be seeing new mono. Cassiopeia is going to ult the opposite direction, is going to keep that Ari safe, along with the Trap Claw is going to keep that cast from potentially ulting again. And yes, that Ari Spirit Bomb is going to take down that Cassiopeia. Will Numano be able to bring it back somehow? We still have that Gunslinger in the back line, but another Ari ult is going to take Numano down. 2 HP now for Numano, as he will fall. Esportslaw going to stick at 2. Sphinx going up against Siegs. Might not have that wonderful Diana moment. I might have spoken too soon once again, as we're going to get
Oh
to our
no,
ultimate, but with
no.
that Dazzler debuff, that's going to be the difference there, as Sphinx will finish behind Esportslaw, who should be, I believe, in 3rd place at this point. Numano 5 HP, Esports 2, and Seigs living on the polls right now. I got 2 eights, potentially finishing the day in 1. And remember when I said there is history of our last place person coming in, playing spoiler, and unfortunately for
Yes.
Sphinx, it happened again today.
It's looking like it may happen. This comp, it's for Dazzler. It's the scenario I talked about earlier, and it's happening again for Dazzler right now, especially versus things like this Jin. Going to be insane. Town to clean up and see how it goes, Boop.
All right, that triple chalice is definitely falling off right now. Very good positioning on other members. It's actually Numano positioning a lot less now that we're here on the final lobby. It doesn't look like Numano is going to end up winning. Oh, maybe it could potentially happen. Remember, he is going for that record. If he wins out today, he will have the overall record for Fight Night Rising and
Oh,
is going to survive one more time as Esports will finish in third. One round to rule them all as we see Shelly, a chalice for Siegs, and we'll see what Numano is going
okay.
to get a little bit later. But we have one fight to tie the overall Fight Night Rising record. Will Numano be able to do it?
I think there was another chalice there on the side of Yamato as well. Yeah, getting confirmation there. I saw it for just a brief second, seek scouting, but then yeah, Numano could do it. Numano could tie the record for Fight Night in terms of points earned and can do it with, I mean, such a dominant performance just in every single game of being 100 HP 3 times until Wolves, and 100 HP all over the course of all 4 games until at least Krugs, I think. Siegs has 50 gold to roll down, wants to hit Talon 3, hits 1 right there, rolling at the speed of sound right now. It has another one, and the
There it
Nico
is.
on the bench. Talon 3 is achieved. We might not see Numano break the record for
all that all that preface, but you know what, we're gonna cast it like it still could happen,
sure.
because if it's gonna matter for anybody, it's going to be Numano. This Cassiopeia is going to have a little bit of a better ult than last time, but that ZZ Rot taunt is going to gather a lot of attention in that front line. We do have that Dazzler going through onto the right side. All the carries in Numano backline are dead, but this Cassiopeia somehow has avoided every single black pool, is going to be standing in this one. And it looks like Numano might be coming on back and getting this potential record tying lobby win. And the magic is there as Siegs with a Talon 3 loses out and Numano ties the Fight Night Rising record. We only see this every once in a while, friends. This kind of performance, this is special. Let's give it up to Numano right now. Honestly, probably has the points won by record as well. But the real story, I think, is that second and the third place once we get to those scores. But Khroen, you were shocked by that last Numano win.
Yeah, as soon as Talon 3 was hit, I'm like, "Alright, it's unlikely, very unlikely for it to go the other way at this point," but the Talon actually got stuck on hitting the Vanguards for so long there and wasn't able to get a reset. The Cassiopeia didn't fall, either, and turned around, got Talon into the GA state, and stunned him so he couldn't auto to heal with the Bloodthirster at all, and was able to then be taken out right after that. So Numano, I didn't think that comp was a first place comp, especially into Siegs is there, but proving everyone wrong and has taken Fight Night victorious, 36 points, first place. Esportslaw in second place. Talked about Esportslaw coming here saying that,
Three
hey, I
top
think
four.
I can win this thing. Didn't win, but did have
Might
3 top
have
players and
if
won.
one other person just wasn't here.
Yeah,
If that was just a new person.
definitely. Thanks
And
for
then
the
we've got we've got Sphinx at 22, Kjaos missing out at 20, Jinxed at 17, Gunmay 15, Hypnoticus 14, and Siegs at 14 as well. Weird day for him. But Numano
Yeah.
does not beat Sphinx's record of 11 points, is going to win by 10 points instead. But I cannot wait. I don't know if he knows that he has tied Sleet TFT's record, and that's a name. Fred. Sleet is
Yeah,
very, very good at TFT. And to be the only other person to hit 36 points in like the history of Fight Night Rising is it's pretty freaking cool.
definitely. Oh man, such great games. I believe we will be having an interview here shortly with Numano. And there was a question I wanted to pick Numano's brain about. Okay, I think I remembered it. It's actually about the early game. I'll try to remember to bring that up. in but a moment here. But there were some wonderful games here, Boop.
Mhm.
Actually, a lot of surprises to me did happen.
Oh, yeah, definitely I think the fact that only one more comp won today. It was the very first lobby, and I think that Morg comp specifically got, like, an insane lead. I forget who it was, but that person had a Morg and a Talon with items at 3-1, I believe was
Yeah.
was was
Oh,
how it
yeah,
happened,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
in that first lobby. So because of how strong it
Wait,
was, I
I
think that
can't.
happened, but definitely not a
Wait, I
ton
can't hear.
of support.
Let me disconnect first.
All right, it seems like we're getting some audio issues handled with New Mono. Very, very good kids. So deserving of this victory. But let's talk about our number 2 and number 3 just real quick, because I thought with Sphinx, we might not see him in the top 3, but he's on week 6.
Yep. Sphinx has returned. Had an interesting set of games. We did top 4 3 games in a row, but still made it in there. I think we do have Numano on the line here, ready for the interview.
Yeah.
Numano,
Can you
you
hear
here?
me?
Yes. All right. Congratulations on winning another fight night.
Two out
Thanks.
of
Real to
3.
see you back here. Yeah, 2 out of 3. You've had a remarkable couple weeks performance, but then you did even better today. Did you know that
Mhm.
you tied the fight night record when it comes to the total amount of points earned over the course of one fight
No.
night in the game?
Yep,
Well, yeah, you
Yeah, I
36.
did.
didn't know about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
tied the
tied
record
with
with
Fleet.
Sleet. Yeah, Sleet TFT. It was a while ago that happened, but
Mhm.
able to tie that one and gonna be returning next week. One initial question that I wanted to
Mhm.
ask, I'm sure that's on everyone's mind right now. There was in every single game today, you were 100 HP win streaking, even 3 out of the 4 games, I think you win streak all until Wolves.
Mhm.
How do you approach the early game? Is it just a high roll thing that happened here that you were able to win streak that much? Or, like, can you walk us through how that
Yeah,
happened?
one thing I was focusing on this fight night was I actually tried to go for the tier as my first item, because I really wanted to slam like all my items pretty much most of the time, and
Yeah.
like tier
Mm.
into Kjaos was what I was prioritizing the most. So because Cloak is pretty much free in the carousel. So if I start tier, like I'm pretty much guaranteed, like almost guaranteed a Cloak in the stage 2 carousel, and I could just slam Chaos and start win streaking.
Okay.
That's super cool, because you are that's actually tons of mind games that you just actually talked about, to us that you said so casually there. I don't think, okay, so let me bring this, back up. So you're assuming that you're getting the cloak on that second carousel because you're picking
Yeah.
last, right? And
Mhm.
so you're like, "Okay, so my percentages of getting a certain item if I pick last on this, if I pick tier first, I'm probably gonna be able to build a chalice," right? Is that
Yeah.
kind of like the
Yeah.
idea there?
Mhm.
That's so cool. So, like, how do you come up with that, like, theory, right? Is it just a lot of playtime? You're one of the few people I think come in and actually, like, scout a lot of our players, and I think that
Mhm.
comes and shines through here, but how do you, like, come up with that strategy? Because it's not really something we see.
Um, because I think Chalice is like a really strong item, and it also lets you play into like different comps. Because right now Morgana's strong. I think Ari is pretty strong. So like Chalice, like you can pretty much use in any composition. Like I even used it in the Dusk, and it was pretty strong too. So yeah, I just tried to play flexible this time. I didn't have like a composition in my mind going in. So yeah, my plan was just to slam all my items, like make chows, and then just play the carries that I was given.
Okay. Yeah, actually a follow-up from that, I was gonna ask, if you were playing flexible or wanting to play flexible or gonna try to
Mhm.
go Morgana because Morgana's obviously very strong
Yeah.
right now. But, yeah, it seems that you like to play flexible. That being said, though, in game number 1, you ended up going Kindred 3, and you got to 2nd with that. Were you planning on, during your level 7 roll down there, playing Morgana if you did hit that?
Yeah, I was definitely planning because I'm pretty sure I had a Molelo at the time.
Yeah.
So I was definitely planning, but I didn't hit like any of the like talents Morganas. I saw like a bunch of other people hit it, and then I hit a chosen kindred, and I already had 2 kindreds on the bench with 2 Nikos. So I just decided to play kindred. So that's pretty much what I was given. So I didn't really have a choice of going Morgana.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that's it for me. Boop, do you have any other questions here for Numano?
So number one, what do you eat? How many hours do you sleep? I only ask because I would like to be as good at this game as you are. Something that we have definitely noticed is the flexibility, right? And you've talked
Mm.
about how you have been flexible in the past, but one of the comps that I definitely wanted to talk to you about that I believe you're the first person to win on was Goodnight Moon or that carry Lissandra. We got
Mm.
Dazzlers coming through with some buffs at 4. Did
Yeah.
you just kind of like know that maybe not a lot of people are going to be running this? And did you know that it might be a pretty good counter to something like Talon and Morgana?
Yeah, I knew it was pretty good counter to Talon because Alessandro is pretty much always just going to hit Talon at the start of the fight, and that's gonna give me a good advantage. But it's just because I hit a chosen Lissandra in like stage 1, and then I got pretty much got like I actually had a pretty good items to start with because I had a blue buff with the glove, so I already has a itemization. So I just decided to play that because I already had like experiences playing that comp like multiple times on the late games.
Awesome. Well, that's it for me, my friends. Khroen, why don't you take us out here? Numano, once again, tell us where we can find you on social media and stuff.
Yeah. So I stream on Numano Taihashing for the Twitch, and my Twitter is Sugar Free Chan.
All right. Well, congratulations again on the victory here tonight. A 2-time winner. Gonna come back next week to try to make it 3. Played exceptionally well and excited to see you back next week.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And that is it tonight, Boop. But yeah, you're gonna say something?
I was about to say, I just did the math. That's 6 out of 12 lobby wins.
Is it
But
6 out of 12
it is
lobby
6
wins for
out
Nevada?
of 12
Yeah.
lobby wins so
That's
far
insane,
in
actually.
TFT.
I know there was a stat back when I casted with Casanova about like Fluffy having like top 4 percentage, and we had like some insane like 80 or something percent top 4 percentage for a few weeks in a row. But having
Mhm.
a 50% win percentage over all the games that you play over 3 weeks, that's so insane.
Okay,
Numano,
I have a question for you. This
yeah,
is
go
like
for it.
this might be a take, all right, as we close out here, and I would love for everyone to kind of think about this too. In terms of value in accomplishment, right? Both Gunmay's 12/13 weeks and Numano's 50% win rate, I think, are two of like the craziest statistics in Fight Night Rising.
Yep.
Where would you rank as, like kind of like number 1 and number 2 in terms for you, like of like absolute craziness? Because 12 weeks of anything is insane. But
I
having a 50% win rate in 12 lobbies is also insane. I don't know where to put that.
how to rank them in terms of just like Fight Night prowess?
Yeah, like,
Oh
in terms of
man.
most, like, intense accomplishment, right? Like, the craziest accomplishment in Fight Night Rising,
I
I think
mean,
those 2 are up there. I
I
couldn't
can't
decide which one
yeah,
was one, though.
I can't discount, obviously, like, looking at Numano and his performance over the past 3 weeks, it's insane. It's kinda, like, mind-blowing, honestly, like, how was able to play in a lobby of, all, like, extremely good players. But you can't discount not only Gunmay's, 12 or 13 streak at Fight Night, but also his, like, mental progression. It's kind of like
Yeah,
his
that's true, the
story.
redemption
This
arc.
the redemption arc. The
Yeah.
story is actually what makes that for me, so it's really, really hard to go away from
Ah,
that.
totally. They can tie, that's
But
fine.
yeah, is there no, I don't even it's not even a tie right now. It would have to be, I guess leaning towards Gunmay, I think, right now. Just the consistency and the mental progression redemption arc there, I think holds it for me personally. But I think Numano does have a higher cap there. I think we've seen the decline, the fall
Mm.
of Gunmay. And him coming back was cool and great and all, but we didn't see the Gunmay greatness that we were, kind of hoping
Used
for,
to, yeah.
expecting, used to coming into tonight. So Numano, I think, has the potential in the
Mhm.
future and gonna be checking that out next week. But for now, gonna have to bid you all adieu. Farewell. Had some wonderful games here tonight. Got to see the makings of what could surpass the Gunmay legend. We'll catch you all next week, Thursday at this time. Good night, everyone. See you next time on Fight Night Rising.